different words, personalities, techniques, principles, procedures when it comes to a particular subject. Kaya the same din po yan, okay? The same po yan sa kahit na anong subject. Now, pag sinabi natin, pag nakita natin na knowledge ito, ang susunod po na type, okay, ng questions na may encounter natin ay yung tinatawag nila na comprehension questions. And by the way, ang type ng board exam natin, we are well aware of that, is an MCQ type. This is a multiple choice question type. So dapat alam natin kung ano ba ang style ng MCQ. Okay? Paano ba magsagot sa isang MCQ type? Kasi ganyan ang mode ng question natin. So we have to deal with that. Now, after knowledge, yung sinasabi natin kanina, is comprehension. Itong comprehension naman is, by the word comprehension, you have to apply the knowledge that you have. Okay? So, ibig sabihin nun, meron kang knowledge, paano natin i-apply yung knowledge mo na yan in a scenario or in a situation. Kaya, most of the questions in jurisprudence are comprehension-based. Pag sinabi kasing comprehension, kapag alam mo yung definition ng isang word, that's knowledge. Pero pag alam mong i-apply, okay, yung definition or yung meaning ng word na yan, that's already comprehension. The ability to apply the knowledge that you have into the question when you're given or when you are confronted with a situation or a scenario. Kaya nila tinawag yan na comprehension. So example, bibigyan ako ng example. Sa police ethics, uso po yung terms na nonfeasance, misfeasance, at malfeasance. Diba? Sa board exam, meron po yan. It's either a choice or an answer. So, pag sinabi nating knowledge, alam natin yung definition. So, meron tayong keywords, right? We use keywords like sa nonfeasance, non-performance of an act. Kaya nga nonfeasance, diba? Wala kang ginawa. Tama po ba? That's nonfeasance. Now, that's the definition. Sa knowledge po yun. Ang susunod doon, sa nonfeasance is of course misfeasance. So anong pagkakaiba ng non sa mis? Well, yung nonfeasance wala kang ginawa. Yung misfeasance is meron kang ginawa pero mali. Tama po ba? So misfeasance is there is an yung nonfeasance is non-performance. Yung misfeasance is improper performance. May ginawa ka pero hindi siya proper. It is improper. And finally is malfeasance. Tama po ba? Yung malfeasance, it's tantamount to doing something illegal. Yung misfeasance, minor lang po yan, infraction. Pero ang malfeasance, it's as if pag ginawa mo yun, then you might be liable criminally or administratively. So sa tatlo, ang pinakamabigat po is malfeasance. Now, given those definitions, given those terms, ang category po niyan is knowledge. Now, paano po yan magiging comprehension? Well, gagawa po sila ng senaryo. Okay, gagawa sila ng senaryo para i-test kung alam mo na i-apply yung principle or yung definition ng tatlong yun, non, mis, and malfeasance. So, ang gagawin, gagawa sila ng senaryo. Mr. Pedro, okay, is a police officer, isa siyang police, and he is assigned in Baguio City in the patrol division. So, yan yung ano niya, parang magiging senaryo siya eh. And then, he is assigned in night duty. So, naka-assign itong si Mr. Pedro, Patrolman Pedro, sa gabi, particularly sa Burnham Lake. Now, while he is conducting his patrolling, particularly near the Burnham Lake, he was able to hear a sound. Okay, nakarinig sa ng sound. And the sound says, tulong, tulong. So, someone is asking for help. So, naturally, curious, Patrolman Pedro inquired kung anong mangyari. And when he inquired, he was able to see a man at the Burnham Lake who is about to drown. And he is asking for help. So, ganyan ang naging scenario. Now, yung next na sitwasyon, yun na yung magdidetermine kung anong sagot natin. So, sabi doon, Patrolman Pedro, upon noticing the person who is asking for help, nagpalingalinga siya, okay? He looked around. And then suddenly, he saw a rope. Nakakita siya ng tali. If he's going to get the rope, he could throw it to that man and he could be saved. So, pag nakita niya yung tali, pag itatapon niya, matutulungan niya yung nalulunod na lalaki. But instead of doing that, Patrolman Pedro walked away as if nothing happened. So yun yung naging scenario natin. Now, the question there is, what police malpractice was performed by Patrolman Pedro? So, nakita nyo doon, hindi niya dinefine o hindi niya tinanong kung anong definition ng feasance, anong definition ng misfeasance o anong definition ng malfeasance. Ang tinanong niya, paano mo i-apply yung principles na non, mis, and mal. So, ang pagpipilian natin doon is non-feasance, misfeasance, or malfeasance. So, pag kayo ang sasagot, sampulan nga natin. Okay? Pwede nyo yun sa chat natin. Sa tingin ninyo, si Pedro, okay, nakita niya yung lalaki. Tutulungan sana. Pero, okay, meron siyang capability na tulungan siya, di ba? Meron siyang capability na tulungan siya. Kukunin niya yung tali, ibibigay niya, itatapon niya. Pero wala siyang ginawa. Tama po ba? So, anong sagot natin? Non, mis, or mal? Bakit letter A wala akong sinabing A, non-feasance, B, misfeasance, C, non-feasance? So, ano sa tingin niyo? Okay, meron akong nakikita dito na answers na non at saka mis. Okay? Walang nagsagot ng mal. Tama nga naman kasi yung mal is talagang ano yun, it's tantamount to committing a grave offense. Now, ang sagot po natin doon is non-feasance. Hindi po siya misfeasance. Ano yung reason? Ano yung reason? Kaya nga po ang tanong na ito, ang category po niya is comprehension. You have to understand the meaning of the term, not only memorizing or defining the term. Gets po ba ninyo? So, ibig sabihin nun, sa comprehension questions, by the way, it's 20 to 30%. So, out of 100 items sa board exam natin, 20 to 30 items will be comprehension-based. Kasi yung knowledge, 50 to 60% po ito. 50 to 60 items per subject area po yan, knowledge-based. Okay? Itong comprehension, kung gusto nyong pumasa, lalo na at ang minimum natin na passing is you have to get 60. Di ba? Yun yung pinakamababa. 60 items out of 100. So, kailangan meron tayong comprehension. And that is your ability to translate the meaning of the definition into the scenario. Now, yung reason kung bakit non-feasance po yun is wala siyang ginawa. Tama po, wala siyang ginawa. Ibig sabihin nun, non-performance of an act. Paano po yun magiging misfeasance? Ganito po ang misfeasance. Meron siyang ginawa, pero mali. So, ano kaya yung ginawa niyang mali? So, kinuha niya yung tali. Tapos, itinapon niya dun sa lalaki. Pero, sa tuwing iaabot ng lalaki yung kamay niya sa tali, hihilain ni Patrolman Pedro. Gets nyo? Meron siyang ginawa. Okay? Tutulungan sana, pero pinagtripan eh. Hinihila niya yung tali. Ibig sabihin nun, he did something but it is improper. That is misfeasance. Now, paano po magiging malfeasance yun? Magiging malfeasance yun pag kinuha niya yung baril niya, tapos tinutok niya sa lalaki, tapos ginawa niyang target practice. Sabi niya, ilagan mo yung bala ng baril ko kung kaya mo. That already becomes malfeasance. Gets nyo po ba? So, those types of questions, you will expect them in jurisprudence. You will also expect them in law enforcement. Lalo na po sa police organization, police personnel, yung mga yan, lalabas po yan. And you will also see them particularly in theories. Tama po ba? Like, ano yung theory natin na nagsasabi na kapag ikaw ay sumama sa isang tao na kriminal, ikaw ay magiging kriminal din. Okay? In English, the association of one person to another person who is a criminal makes that person also a criminal. Maalala niyo po bang theory yun? That is differential association theory. Now, that is the definition. Now, sa theories po kasi, hindi lang po definition ang tatanungin. Okay? Itatanong po yan in a situation or in a scenario. Kaya yun po ang dapat nating abangan. Aside from reading our notes, we need to practice comprehension. And how do we do that? How do we practice comprehension? You can practice your comprehension by answering mock board questions. Tama po ba? You can practice your comprehension by trying to analyze not only its definition but its application. And finally, ito po. lack of analysis. Ito po yung matindi kasi ang nagsiseparate po sa board passer at board top notcher is the ability to analyze. Ito po yung reason kung bakit meron po tayong criminologist nag-aral ng 4 years, 6 years, or even 10 years. Pag magte-take ng board exam, bakit siya babagsak? Eh, itong isa, nurse graduate, pumasok sa PNP, nag-enroll ng ETF program, BS Criminology, mag-take ng board exam, papasa. Eh, yung kanyang ETF, 1 sem lang or 1 year lang. Ang kanyang foundation na course, nursing. Pero bakit siya pumasa kaysa sa criminologist na nagstay ng 8 years at 10 years sa pag-aaral? Ito pa ang reason dito is analyze. Okay? In the board exam, hindi po lahat ng tanong na encounter natin, nabasa natin. That's an absolute truth. So anong kailangan natin? We need, okay, to think higher than only the knowledge. Kasi knowledge po, okay, granted lalabas po yan, pero kailangan din po nating marunong mag-analyze ng mga tanong. Okay? So para hindi kwento lang, magbibigay po ako ng sample questions. Okay? Iwanan ko muna ito. Yun na ang focus natin. Sampulan natin ang isang lack of knowledge na question. Ito. Maalala niyo po ba ito? Maalala niyo po ba ito? Ano yung sagot natin dito? Article 125. 125 po yan. Diba? Now, that is knowledge question. Tama po ba? Kasi pag hindi mo binasa yan, eh, talagang good luck. Wala kang may sasagot dyan. Yan din ang hirap ng knowledge. So that is why, bakit tayo nagbabasa? Para mapunaan natin yung knowledge natin. Okay? Another example. So 125 po yan. How about this one? O, anong keyword natin? Simple. So it's a simple questioning. So saan tayo pipili? Siyempre, hindi pwede yung Charlie at Delta. Tama po ba? Information, hindi po pwede. Simple questioning. Between interview and interrogation, saan po ang simple dyan? Tama. That is interview. Anong klaseng tanong ito? This is a knowledge-based question. Sabi ko sa inyo, 50%, mostly 50% of the questions in the board exam will be based on knowledge. So yan ang dapat na pagpundahan natin. Yan dapat ang ginagawa natin ngayon, nagbabasa po tayo. Okay? Para ma-refresh tayo, madagdagan yung knowledge natin. So tama, interview po yan. Okay. How about this one? Related po ito sa topic natin. A person who provides information on a regular basis. So, regular basis. Ano pa yung ano dyan? They are cultivated and they are paid regularly. So, we are looking for someone who gives information. Saan po tayo pipili dyan? Tama po, informer or informant. So, binabayaran, therefore, informer. Yan. Anong tawag ulit natin dito? Knowledge question. Okay, tama. Meron pa. It refers to a suspect's pattern, okay, method, or procedure in committing a crime. Maalala niyo po ba ito? Thomas Barnes? Tama po. Mode of operation or modus operandi. So, I believe, kapag po na sa lahat ng subject areas na nabasa niyo po yung basic, so, ang tip ko po sa pagbabasa, mag-stick po kayo sa basic info. Okay? Wag po kayong masyadong mag-focus sa mga technical at advanced information kapag hindi nyo pa nababasa yung basic information, yung basic knowledge. Kumbaga, sa intelligence, police intelligence for example. Kasi sa bagong curriculum po, wala na pong police intelligence. Dinagdag na po siya sa fundamentals of criminal investigation. So, ano ba ang basic info na dapat nating malaman sa police intelligence? Well, basically, what is police intelligence? What are the 4 cycles of intelligence? Who are the personalities of intelligence? Ang tawag po natin dyan, basic information. Okay, punta tayo sa police organization, yung layawan natin. Ano ang basic knowledge na dapat malaman natin doon? What is police organization? What is the history of police? Who are the personalities in the history of police? Okay? So if you stick to the knowledge, ngayon, okay, in your current review, pag mag-stick po kayo, yun po ang hahanapin nyo. Okay? The basic information. Kasi yun po ang knowledge. Okay, how about this one? Ano daw ang required age? Kaya siya knowledge. Okay, kasi pag hindi mo nabasa, medyo mahirap sagutan. In Australia, Ano daw kaya? Sa ano to? Sa comparative. Ilang taon daw pwedeng makapasok sa police service ang mga tao sa Australia? Oh, very good. In Australia, they are accepting high school graduates to enter their police forces. Although yung rank po nila is hindi po siya parang sa atin na patrolman. Remember, yung patrolman, ang counterpart po niyan, most of the time in other countries is constable. Tama po ba? Constable. Pero, sa Australia po kasi, yung mga 18 years old na bagong recruit nila na high school graduate, ang tawag po sa kanila, probationary constable. Yes, no? Kaya pag hindi nyo po nabasa yon, ay, mahirap po. Okay? Kaya nga siya tinawag na knowledge question. O isa pa, sa security. Ito yung tanong niya. What is known as the first line of defense? Ano sagot natin? Siyempre, hindi pwede yung fence. Hindi po yung first line of defense. Hindi po pwede ang clear zone. Ang clear zone po, that is a clear and obstructed area in your installation. Okay? Basically, 25 feet inside and 50 feet outside. So, ang pagpipilian po lamang natin dun is barrier and perimeter barrier. Tama po ba? So, barrier nga ba or perimeter barrier? Isa lang po ang pwedeng sagot dyan. O, isa pang tip. If the question is asking for a general answer, then you give a general answer. If the question is giving a specific question, then you give a specific answer. Ibig sabihin nun, you respond to the question. O, ano bang tanong dyan? First line of defense. Ilan po ba ang lines of defense natin? Ilan po ba? Meron po tayong 3 lines ng defense. Tama po ba? First line of defense, second line of defense, and third line of defense. Basically, our first line of defense is perimeter barrier. Bakit hindi barrier ang sagot? Very broad po yan. Ang barrier po, dalawang klase niyan, natural at man-made. Hindi yan ang tinatanong ng tanong. The question is asking very specifically what is known as the first line of defense. Therefore, our answer is perimeter barrier. Okay. Tapos na po tayo sa knowledge. Now, I would like you to see samples of, dalawa po ang binigay ko lang dito para ma-appreciate natin. Okay, bakit nga ba tayo nagre-review ng ito? Gabing-gabi na, dapat tulog na tayo, di ba? Pero bakit naghihirap tayo? Kasi isang tip sa board exam, study smart, not study hard. Kasi kahit basa ka ng basa, kung walang direksyon yung binabasa mo, useless po yan. So dapat alamin mo, ano bang klaseng tanong ang kailangan kong sagutin pagdating ng board exam? Okay? Based on my experience, yun po yung 3. So, ano ba yung sample ng comprehension? Ito po yan. Sa ano po ito? Sa police personal management. Sabi dito, what is known as the direction provided on a one-on-one basis? Well, another tip para mas masimplify yung tanong, pwede nyo pong i-translate yan sa sarili nyong salita. Tagalog po ninyo. Ano ang tawag natin sa direction na pinoprovide? One-on-one, mano a mano. So we are asking for a direction given one-on-one. Okay. Siyempre, nandun yung 4 na choices. Pwede tayong mag-eliminate, okay, or pwedeng meron tayong initial na answer. So for example, checking of the root words. Kaya ito, comprehension. Siyempre, one-on-one. Itong coordination. One-on-one po ba ang coordination? Well, coordination is talking about the coordination of one agency to another. Dalawa pong klase yan. Intra-agency or intra-departmental and interdepartmental. Kaya hindi po yan isa sa choices natin. Tama po ba? O, management. Ano po ang root word ng management? Manage, manager. Sa tingin ninyo, nag-one-on-one po ba yung manager natin? Hindi po, kasi managerial position nga po. Nasa taas po sila. They do not deal, okay, with the one-on-one supervision, one-on-one direction, di ba? Administration, administrator. Lalo pong mas mataas ang pwesto ng mga ito, administrator ang mga yan. Supervision, supervisor. Tama po ba? Sa personal management, meron pa tayong principal, supervisor to subordinate. Parang si sergeant, meron siyang mga tauhan na patrolman. One-on-one po ang tawag doon. So, ang sagot natin, supervision. Nagets niyo po ba? Yan po ang ibig sabihin ng comprehension. Okay? You are going to apply the knowledge that you have in the question. Okay? Isa pang tanong. Ito sa mga mga criminal law subjects. Book 1, book 2 po ito. So itong sitwasyon natin, si Pedro, deaf mute daw siya. Okay? Hindi nakakarinig, hindi nakakapagsalita. Inakusahan siya ng kaso na rape. Tapos wala siyang defense lawyer. Tapos na-convict siya. Tama po ba yung decision? Okay? Tama po ba? Ang pagpipilian dyan, syempre A or B. Okay? Huwag kayong pipili dun sa C or D. Yan. Syempre, natural naman. In our criminal court, you have to be represented by your lawyer. Okay? Your defense counsel. So naturally, the answer is letter B. Okay? That is comprehension. Now, yung last category. Sabi ko kanina, kapag gusto mong pumasa, magbasa ka. Knowledge po yan. Pag gusto mong siguradong pumasa ka, mag-comprehension ka. Diba? Kasi 50 plus 20 to 30, 80. Pero pag gusto mong mag-top, improve mo, i-hone mo ang analysis mo. Because, maalala nyo yung mga nag-take ng board exam sa jurisprudence, number 86 to number 100, ang haba ng tanong niya kasi puro situational po ang mga yan. Ibig sabihin nun, these are the questions that requires high level of analysis. So, tignan natin, sample natin. Napakasimpleng tanong po ito. Okay, napakasimpleng tanong. Pero analytical po ito. Sabi niyan, can latent footprints be seen by the naked eye? Oh, anong sagot niya? Anong sagot? Latent footprints cannot be seen by the naked eye. Bakit po yung naging analysis? Kasi sometimes analytical questions, nandun na po yung sagot sa tanong. Like this one. Ang latent po, Tagalog natin yung tanong, ang hindi na footprint, nakita ba yan ng mata mo? Okay? Yan po ang ibig sabihin yan. Latent means invisible. Patent means visible. So literally, ang tanong na ito, nakikita ba ng mata mo ang hindi mo nakikita? Gets no? So anong sagot natin? Naturally, syempre, hindi. Latent, sabi natin, invisible. Patent, visible. Kaya ang sagot natin dyan, no. Yan po ang ibig sabihin ng analytical question. Okay. Another question. This is the territorial unit where the power of the court is to be exercised. Jurisdiction, geographical division, venue, territory. Oh, ang tawag po natin dito, rush question. Okay? Pain po ito. Marunong po ang yung PRC natin, mahilig po sila sa ganitong tanong. Bakit pain ito? Kasi nagbibigay lang sila ng keyword. Okay? Yung Q nyo, yung nakita nyo lang dyan, power of the court. Nung nakita mo yung power of the court, uy, alam ko to, jurisdiction. Tapos sasadyain pa, yung letter A talaga, jurisdiction. But if you will analyze the question, is it asking for the power of the court? Is it asking for the power of the court? Is it asking for jurisdiction? Hindi po. Ang tinatanong niya, the territorial unit. Ibig sabihin nun, where shall you exercise jurisdiction? So ano pong sagot natin? Tama po, venue. May nakita ko kanina, napasubong sumagot ng alpha. Ay, yung territory, hindi po yan na choice. Okay, hindi po yan choice. It's jurisdiction and venue. Diyan po tayo pipili. Okay, kaya po siya tinawag na analytical. Kasi ito, pain na tanong ang mga ito. Rush question. They will give you keywords like power of the court. And you're familiar with power of the court. That is jurisdiction. But, hindi yan ang tinatanong. It's not about jurisdiction. It's about the question, where shall you exercise jurisdiction? There you go. Yan po yung simple tip ko. Ginawa ko po yun para magkaroon tayo ng rason kung bakit tayo nandito ngayon na nagre-review. Okay? Magkaroon tayo ng idea kung ano nga ba ang mga questions na pwede nating ma-encounter. Ganon po ang klase ng question na ma-encounter natin. Now, we need to continue. Okay? Tutuloy na po natin ang ating lecture. And that is for the 3 I's of investigation, dealing with all of the following topics. Now, I prepared a video. I would like you to assess. Pag putol po ito, ikakat po ito, magla-live po tayo. Pero pag okay naman, please paki-message. Okay, so next on our topic is the 3 I's of investigation. So as mentioned earlier, nakita na natin kung ano-ano ba ang mga tools na yan or eyes ng investigation. So here are the following: information, interview and interrogation, and instrumentation. So we'll be dealing with them one by one. Okay? We start with information. In intelligence, it is one of the most important aspects, because without information, then there can be no intelligence. Because as per definition, if you see here, information is the knowledge of facts. It's more on knowledge, okay? It's more on data, okay? That is gathered or acquired from persons who have information or data, relevant information concerning a criminal activity or the commission of a crime. So, what are the topics that are being covered in information? Yung isa sa pinaka-importante is the 3 sources of information. Saan ba manggagaling ang information na yan? So, they're categorized into 3. You have the regular, another you have cultivated, and then you have grapevine sources. When we say regular source, these are sources of information coming from open source. So when we say open source, you can have the records, files from the government, like your clearances, your PRC licenses. Any transaction to government or non-government agency are deemed to be as regular source. So this is a widely accessible information. Well, the internet right now, like social media services like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, can also or already become regular sources of information. Napakadali na pong maka-access ng data ngayon. Okay, nowadays, information is already easily being traced or tracked. Like, you are searching in your Facebook or in any related web about second-use vehicles or cars, and suddenly biglang mag-pop up sa advertisement mo or sa wall mo yung mga binibenta na second model na cars. Ganun po kabilis ang information natin ngayon sa internet. Okay? So, this is a regular source, easily accessible. Now, the other source of information is what we call as cultivated source. By the word cultivated is nanggaling po ito sa isang source kung saan na-cultivate siya. So basically, this came from informants or informers, where their main source of livelihood is to give information. Kaya pag cultivated, trained po ang mga yan. Okay? Meron pa silang training, orientation kung paano sila mag-gather ng information. Kaya nga tinawag natin na cultivated. Well, in the criminal underworld or in the investigation, we call them asset. Okay? Parang merong isang agent at meron siyang hinahandle na asset. Kaya nga, we can call them informant or informer. Yan ang cultivated. Okay? By the word cultivated, they are trained to gather information, collect data, and send it to law enforcement or give it to law enforcement. Third one, which could be one of the richest source of information, are known as grapevine sources. So pag sinabi natin grapevine source, yung data na nanggaling sa kanila is very rich because these sources, kung magbibigay ng information, they themselves come from the underworld. Okay, nanggaling sila sa underworld. So baka meron silang agenda kung bakit sila nagbibigay ng information, like they want to eliminate the rival. That's why they give information against the rival. Or, sawang-sawa na sila sa buhay nila, gusto nilang kumawala or lumabas doon sa underground world or illegal organization. Kaya magbibigay sila ng information. Okay, so there you go. What is important is for you to know the differences between the 3 sources of information. Okay. So yan, regular source. Okay, nanggaling sa normal source yan. You have cultivated. And have grapevine. Coming from the other. And maraming tayo sa information. Open source po yan, regular source. Okay? So we stick on the facts. We stick on the data. Be gathered. Okay, so another important knowledge or info that you can get na nilalaos sa board exam kasi palaging lumalabas difference between informant and informer. Some of the other tips that you can get is on the last letter. Ito, I remember informant is voluntary. Ito, informer is may payment. Diba? So pag informer, yung letter R, reward. Okay? It's about remuneration, reward. Yung letter T, since okay, wait lang ha. Nasa PowerPoint na po ba tayo? PowerPoint?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Ito na lang sa live. Okay? I was saying, balik tayo dun sa informant versus informer. Dito na tayo. Okay. So, yun yung three main sources ng information. So today, ito yung topic na differentiate informer. So, usually, ang ginagamit nila na keyword sa last letter. When naman ko lang sa mag-bigol, pag-informant mo or pag-informer, yung letter A, reward. Okay? Ibig sabihin yung informer, yung informant, kasi voluntary, yung letter T, ang sabihin ko, no, thank you. Meaning, binigyan niya lang information na wala kang hinihingi. Yan. So, voluntary, informer, reward. So, there you go. There are several reasons kung bakit ang isang tao magbibigay ng information. And some of these reasons are presented like vanity. Yung vanity po yun na yung parang civic mindedness. Meron talagang mga tao na talagang magbibigay sila ng information kasi sa tingin nila it's their duty. Ganun ba? It's their task to give the information that they learned. Yan. Even to the point na gusto pa nilang mag-testify as witness in court. Okay? Patriotism, okay, repentance, fear, yan. These are some of the reasons. Even revenge, bibigay ka ng information kasi gusto mong maghiganti sa isang enemy organization, sa isang tao. So you give information against them. Yan. Jealousy or remuneration or money. So, meron tayong mga klase ng informant. Basically, there are 10 or 11. So, yung una is ito. Who is an anonymous informant? Mahalaga po ito kasi may dalawa pong halos parehas na type ng informant. First is anonymous informant and second one is the confidential informant. So, who is an anonymous informant? How is it different to a confidential informant? So, an anonymous informant will give information to the police, either via text, message, or call. But he does not want his identity to be known by the police. Ayaw po ng mga pulis tawag sa kanya kung nagbigay siya ng information sa sunod, wala siyang pakilala. Okay. On the other hand, pag confidential informant, Nako. Okay, tuloy ko. So I'm talking about, paki-comment ulit kung klaro na or putol-putol pa rin. So I was talking about the confidential versus the anonymous informant. Ayun, buti naman. Tuloy natin. Sabi ko kanina, yung anonymous, hindi siya magpapakilala. Okay? Wala siyang intensyon talaga. Pero itong si confidential informant, he is known by the police. Kilala siya ng mga police. But he is not known, of course, by the enemy organization. Yung reason kung bakit siya nagbibigay ng information laban sa kanila, but he is not known. That's the main difference. Itong confidential informant, even to the extent na he is known by the police and he is placed under a witness protection program. Aware po ba kayo sa witness protection program? Di ba? Meron tayong ganon. He may be a star witness in a very controversial case. That is why we consider him as a confidential informant. Meron siyang continuous communication at cooperation sa ating mga law enforcers. Pero talagang pinoprotektahan siya ng mga law enforcers, even to the point that he is isolated, even his family, bibigyan siya ng bagong passport, bagong identity, ilalagay sa isang high secure facility. Yan po ang pagkakaiba ng anonymous at saka confidential. Sabi ko, okay? He's known by the police, he is protected by, unlike to an anonymous. So there you go. That is the two first categories of informants. Yan. Yung pangatlo, of course, is a voluntary. Naku, nawawala na naman. Okay, audio check. Next topic, voluntary informant. Clear na po ba? Okay, sige, tuloy natin. Pasensya na. Outdoors kasi ako. Di bali next Friday, hahanap po ako ng malakas na signal. Napaaga po kasi ang pag-uwi ko kasi I was working in San Fernando, La Union, and they declared San Fernando, La Union as ECQ, Enhanced Community Quarantine, kasi dumami yung cases nila doon. Kaya pinauwi kami doon. Pinauwi kami sa mga bahay namin. But don't worry, on Friday, I will be looking for a best spot para hindi po yung situation natin. Okay, so let's continue. So sabi natin, ang voluntary informant, by the word voluntary, he will give information even to the point of testifying in court. Okay, magte-testify po yan. Yan. Sabi natin, may mga ibang informant na gusto nilang i-eliminate ang kanilang rival. Gusto nilang siraan para mabuwag yung kanilang rival. So ito yung term sa kanila. We call them rival elimination informant. You are a member of a gang and you have an enemy gang and you want to destroy them, you can become an informant of the police. Uso po ito sa Amerika kung saan yung FBI, they will penetrate or they will infiltrate. O, dalawa pong term yan. Sa police intelligence po, meron po tayong tinatawag na infiltration at penetration. Ang gagawin ng FBI, either ipipenetrate or infiltrate nila yung organization na yan. And then they will recruit this organization and they will try to recruit them and testify against the rival gangs. Ang tawag natin dyan, rival elimination. Yung keywords po natin dito, pag nagkakuha tayo ng knowledge, is nandun na po sa vocabulary, nandun na po sa term rival elimination. This is an example. Okay, this is the motorcycle club. If you are aware sa motorcycle gang, this is the Vagos. Okay, itong mga Vagos na to, isang member dito, ni-recruit ng FBI para magsalita laban sa isang notorious na motorcycle gang. It is considered as the #1 motorcycle gang in the world. Ano po kaya yon? Ini answer. It is considered as the first or the with the greatest number. Marami silang members all around the continent na motorcycle club. Yan. Ang sagot po dyan is the Hells Angels. Okay? This is just an example to show you kung ano pa ang ibig sabihin ng rival elimination informant. Nire-recruit nila yung isang membro na magsalita laban sa isang membro or gang. There you go. Now, yung mga susunod na type of informant, mga minor types na ito, like this false informant. By the word false, this type of informant gives information of no consequence. Ibig sabihin nun, wala pong value yung kanyang sinasabi. Okay? His information is concocted in thin air. Ibig sabihin nun, parang gawa-gawa lamang niya. Kaya nga sabi natin, a criminal investigator should have the ability to decipher truth from falsehood. Yan, isang skill po yan. So, pag meron kang false informant, wag mo nang i-entertain. Sayang lang oras mo. Okay? Frightened informant. So, syempre, naturally, meron po tayong mga informants na takot magbigay ng information kasi yung gangs o yung family masyadong powerful even to the point na baka patayin sila. So, ang ginagawa nila, ayaw nilang magbigay ng information. But the problem is, as law enforcers, as criminal investigators, you still need a way for them to talk. Kailangan magsalita ang mga yan. So, what do you need to do? Well, identify, alamin mo yung reason kung bakit takot sila. Basically, takot sila sa buhay nila, sa buhay ng pamilya nila, mga ganyan. And as a response, as a criminal investigator, you give them assurances. You give them security para matanggal yung kanilang feeling of being frightened. Okay? Kasi takot ang mga yan. So, what you need to do is give them assurances. Okay? Ensure them that they will be protected, their family will be protected, so that they can share the information that you will need. Yan. Hindi po mawawala ang mga ganitong klase ng informant natin. Okay. A self-aggrandizing informant. This is almost similar to a false informant. Anong pagkakaiba? By the word self-aggrandizing, para bang he wanted to be or she wanted to be the center of attention. Gustong-gusto niya yung attention na binibigay ng pulis sa kanya or ng media sa kanya. Initially, sa unang interview mo, useful talaga yung information kasi meron siyang alam. Okay? He has information with him. The only problem is, on the succeeding interview, he is now trying to create his own story. Or is pang technique ng mga itong self-aggrandizing, magbibigay sila ng information pero bit by bit, pa konti-konti lang, para itong investigador, babalik-balikan itong witness na ito. Para ma-feel niya ulit yung self-importance. Okay, guys, ano po ba? Yan po ang ibig sabihin ng self-aggrandizing informant. Okay, a type of informant po rin, ang focus lang niya is the attention given by the police. The danger of this type of informant is dahil nag-iimbento na siya, yung information na binibigay niya, misleading na siya. Okay? Misleading na at hindi na siya useful. There we go. Okay? That's self-aggrandizing. Yan, nakita nyo yan? Bragging. Okay? Pretentious. Mga ganyan. Hindi na po useful yung binibigay niya na information. Okay. Mercenary informant. Here we go. This is one of the type of informant that is very dangerous to deal with. So if you're a criminal investigator, okay, itong kasing term na mercenary, by the word, mercenaryo, tama po ba? Para siyang he's dealing only with money. So ibig sabihin nun, this type of informant will sell or give the information to the highest bidder. Kaya nga nandyan, information for sale. So kapag yung police organization, binigyan siya ng pera kasi binabayaran. Pero yung enemy organization, binigyan ng mas malaking pera. Naturally, doon siya magbibigay kung sino yung makapagbibigay sa kanya ng large amount of money. Kaya nga tinawag natin siya na mercenary informant. Okay, there you go. That is your mercenary informant. Another type of informant that is dangerous is a double crosser informant. Kapag maaalala nyo sa police intelligence, meron din po tayong ganitong agent. Anong klaseng agent ito? This is your own agent, okay, na bumaliktad sa inyo. Kaya nga double cross. Maalala nyo si Jonathan Wild, double cross. Itong agent na ito, train mo. Binigyan mo siya ng skills, ng knowledge. Tapos, dineploy mo siya sa enemy organization. Okay? So, for example, dineploy mo siya sa isang gang or sa isang organized crime. Now, the danger there is na burn out siya. Remember the word burnout, di ba? He was known na blow yung kanyang cover. Na burn out siya, and then he was captured by the enemy, and then he was indoctrinated by the enemy, and he was turned against your organization. Napakahirap po nun. Akala mo, agent mo siya. Ang problema, nahuli na pala ng kaaway ninyo, enemy organization, tapos instead na nag-gather siya ng data para sa inyo, nag-gather siya ng data para sa inyong enemy organization. Yan po ang term na double crosser. Okay? So sabi ko kanina, it's more on the vocabulary. Okay, sound off po. Clear po ba yung audio natin? Okay pa po ba?
Clear, sir.
Okay, very good, very good. Buti naman, nag-stabilize ato yung signal dito. Okay, syempre, yung 10th natin na informant, last informant, bakit kaya nasama itong women na ito? Alam niyo ba sa police intelligence, Delilah, malala si Delilah, sino pa yung isang babae doon? Rahab. You know, women in intelligence and even in the investigation world are one of your most valuable assets. Kasi, sometimes in the criminal underworld, women, itong mga babae, mga ano yan, kabit, okay, nobya, okay, these are, even in motorcycle clubs, women are considered properties. Anong nangyari? Itong babae, syempre, dahil sumasama siya sa lalaki, sumasama siya sa operation, marami siyang alam. Now, anong nangyari? Roughed up. Kaya nga sabi ito, roughed up, marginalized. Ibig sabihin nun, he was or she was, parang biglang itinapon, biglang sinipa sa organization. No, para makaganti yung babae, he is going to give information. Yan, ito yung mga, one of your sources or targets if you're going to conduct investigation is to look for yung mga lalaki na yung weakness, yung mga ganitong klase ng babae. Even in the world of sa terrorism. Sikat po ito sa world ng terrorism, yung babae ay ginamit, okay, para makagather ng info laban sa isang terrorist. So this terrorist is a intelligence asset. Ito kasing intelligence terrorist, sila yung magagaling. Okay? Genius ang mga to. They gather information and they do not leave a trace. Okay? They do not leave a trace sa kanilang magaling talaga sila. So itong CIA ng US, nahihirapan sila na i-track itong particular na terrorist na ito. Siya yung nagtitrain ng mga bombers, nagpa-plan kung paano yung attack. Hindi nila matrace. He's Jordanian. Now, ang weakness ng lalaki na to is mahilig siya na pumunta sa mga brothels, yung mga dens, sexual dens. So nag-recruit sila doon sa den na binivisit, pinik-frequent ng lalaki na yun, yung terrorist na yun. Nag-train sila ng isang babae na prostitute na ginawa nilang asset nila. Tapos, okay, nung nagkaroon ng sexual intercourse, yung babae, kinuha niya yung condom. Yan ang laman ng condom, semen. Yung semen, meron siyang laman na DNA. And through that DNA, nilink nila, okay, yung isang pagkakamali ng Jordanian intelligence terrorist na yan, nilink nila, kaya nahuli nila. Okay, that is just a few example on how important women are as your informants. Okay, historical pa lang, sa Bible pa lang, nandun na agad si Delilah at saka si Rahab. Yan, so there you go. Those are our 10 types of informants. So that is the end for the first I of investigation, which is information. So another, again, ulitin natin, information is one of the most important source or data, because without information, there is no intelligence, there is no investigation, because information is data. Information is everything. So we will now move on to discussing interview and interrogation. So sabi nga natin, interview is simple questioning. Bakit sinawag natin simple lang? Because one of your main purpose on why you conduct interview is only for you to gather data. Okay? Para mag-collect ka lang ng information on someone, maybe a bystander, okay? Maybe a witness or even a victim who was able to have some sort of knowledge or information about the crime. On the other hand, okay, interrogation is skillful. Hindi pala sumunod sa PowerPoint natin. Bakit skillful? Because it deals, basically interrogation is dealing with suspects. Okay? Maybe they are the ones who really committed the crime. Okay? And more importantly, your purpose for conducting an interrogation is not only to gather, okay, information. Kasi pag nasa interrogation phase ka na, there is information that is already collected. What you would only want to confirm is to confirm whether the information that you have is really verified and true. And remember, the purpose on why you conduct interrogation is to obtain either a confession or an admission, which could be a useful evidence later in court. So that's the main difference between an interview and an interrogation. Pero yung proseso kung paano tayo mag-conduct ng interview, halos parehas din po sa interrogation. Nga lang, yung interrogation, the mode of questioning is confrontational. Okay, confrontational. Pero ang interview, yung mode ng interview is not confrontational. It's conversational. Ibig sabihin nun, parang magkikipagkwento ka lang. Pero yung sa interrogation, you are accusing. Okay? You are using techniques. Unlike in interview, that you are just mainly gathering information. Okay, moving on. Pag sinabing interview types, meron po tayong dalawa na main type ng interview. Ano po yan? Yung una, we call it cognitive interview. Yung pangalawa is question and answer interview, or yung tinatawag natin na Q&A. So naturally, pag sinabi natin cognitive, okay? If you are watching the news, special mention ulit natin si Mayor ng Baguio City, Mayor Benjamin Magalong. He is declared as the SAR for cognitive interviewing. Ni-recruit na po siya eh. Kasi very effective yung technique na ginagamit nila para matrace. Sabi ko nga, yung mga COVID patients natin. Itong cognitive interviewing kasi, by the word cognitive, root word niya, cognition, meaning the mind. Okay, the mind. So you will conduct an interview on your interviewee. Two words ha. Interviewer, ikaw po yun as the criminal investigator. You are the one conducting the investigation. Interviewee, okay, is the person whom you are gathering data. He is either your witness, okay, or your victim. That's why you call him interviewee. So in cognitive interview, as the first type, pakita na lang natin. Yan po. It's a technique of interview wherein you will allow your witness to narrate his or her own account or story without intervention, without interruption. Ibig sabihin nun, dire-diretso. Usually, ang cognitive interview, may sequence po yan. It's either from the start to end or from end to start. Parang flashback pa atras. Yun yung end to start. But typically, since interview is, in order, step by step, usually, ang sasabihin ng interviewer, ma'am, sir, pakikwento po kung anong nangyari from the moment you arrive at the crime scene, okay, sa moment na dumating ka sa crime scene up to the moment na nag-report ka sa police station. So, ikukwento niya yung frame na yon, dumating siya sa crime scene, nag-report siya sa police, na hindi mo siya i-interrupt. Bakit hindi mo siya interrupt? Kasi you have the assumption that your witness has good memory. Ginawa niya yung 5 senses niya. Kaya ginawa, ang term doon, Okay. What's the other type? Yung other type ko na is the question. Ako, naglalag na naman ata. Lang. Okay. Itong question and answer, bigay ako ng practical na example. Meron tayong tinatawag na sinumpaang salaysay. Tama po ba? Yung yung ano bang tawag natin doon? Affidavit or ano yung proper term natin doon kung saan yung witness pupunta sa police station tapos i-interview siya. Ayun. Sworn statement. Meron po tayong tinatawag na statement. Now, itong sworn statement, dalawa pong klase ito. Yung isang klase ng sworn statement, nandun yung Q, question, tapos nandun yung A, answer. Ibig sabihin nun, isang tanong, isang sagot. Na-encounter niyo po ba yung sworn statement na gano'n? Kung saan yung Q, maaari niyo po bang ilahad ang dahilan kung bakit kayo nandito? Tapos A, nandun yung answer niya. Nandito ako para isalaysay ang nakita kong pangyayari sa ganitong araw, sa ganitong lugar. Tapos yung question ulit, ano pong yan? Ganyan po ang question and answer. Now, typically, ang sworn statement, ang sinumpaang salaysay na Q&A, is majority used po yan sa mga minors. Kasi, during the phase of the interview, during the process or the sequence of the interview, i-guide nyo po sila, okay, kung ano yung dapat nilang isagot. Unlike sa isang type ng sworn statement or sinumpaang salaysay na nakaparagraph. Nakakita po ba kayo ganon sworn statement na nakaparagraph kung saan tuloy-tuloy po yung yung kwento. Okay, that on or about this particular person arrive in this particular place. Ang tawag po natin doon, cognitive interview. Yung mode po ng pag-gather ng data doon is through cognitive interview. Okay? So, yan ang two main types. Don't worry, we are going to explore more of this. So, this cognitive interview is a very effective type of interview that they are using today in order to elicit or extract information in its maximum. Ibig sabihin, na-maximize yung gathering ng data through this particular type of interview kasi meron siyang process. Okay? Yung unang process, yung old na ginagamit is the ironic. If you're familiar, nasa notes po natin yung ironic process. Now, yung recent ngayon, yung pangalawa ngayon is the peace model, which we're going to discuss. Don't worry. Yan, that's cognitive, that's Q&A, and cognitive interview type. So, dalawa po yun. Before we continue again, with talking about this ironic and peace model of interviewing, just like when we discuss the qualities of an investigator, we also need to discuss the qualities of an interviewer. So, sino nga ba ito? Sino nga ba itong mag-interview? Ikaw po yan. The first quality is the word rapport. Ano pa yung rapport? Nandiyan pa yung definition niya. But in simple terms, rapport is the ability to establish a good interpersonal relationship with your interviewee. In simple terms, kapag po tayo ay mag-i-interview, kailangan po yung ini-interview natin, palagay po sa atin, naka-relax po siya. At more importantly, yung atmosphere, okay? Hindi po siya tensionado. Naka-relax po. Yan po ang ibig sabihin ng reason kung bakit kailangan nating mag-establish ng tinatawag na rapport. Ibig sabihin po nun, yung kinakausap po natin, hindi po siya takot sa atin magbigay o magsalita. Paano? Paano natin ginagawa yung rapport? Marami pong paraan ng pag-establish ng rapport or good relations. Of course, the very basic thing there is to start with unrelated topics. Ibig sabihin nun, huwag kang dediretso agad na, sir, anong nakita mo? Pwede mo bang ikwento? Hindi po, may proseso po yan. Yung rapport na yan, very important po yan sa interview. Kasi, kailangan mo na maging relax yung kinakausap. Yung tao na nagbibigay ng information. And accordingly, most of the time, you can maximize the data that you are collecting if you have established a good rapport, okay, or a good relationship to the person you are interviewing. Kaya nga, friendliness approach of interview is very much recommended. So you have to be always friendly, hindi pwedeng seryoso yung mukha. Okay? Ano ba yung mga basic signs na pwede nating gawin? Rapport. Makinig ka sa kanya, eye to eye, di ba? Mata sa mata. Okay? You lean in. Okay? Hindi yung nakatras ka, parang hindi ka interesado. Tapos yung gestures na tumatango ka. Ibig sabihin nun, parang talagang you are attentive sa sinasabi ng witness mo. Tapos meron kang ballpen. Tapos chinachat down mo, sinusulat mo, ginajot down mo. Ibig sabihin nun, you are interested really as the interviewer. Those are some simple techniques. Okay? Pero, paano pag ganito? Unang impression, nagkatinginan kayo. Tapos, paano mo umpisahan yung kwento? Paano mo i-establish yung rapport? Yan. Very important po yan. It's a very handy skill that you should have as an investigator. Di bale, sa ironic, letter R, rapport po ang ibig sabihin yan. Okay. Forceful personality. Bakit forceful? Ibig sabihin nun, mapersa. Okay? Nandyan po yung term niya. You must be understanding and you must be sympathetic. Ibig sabihin na you are showing signs of sympathy to the person without showing arrogance, vulgarity, and air of superiority. Yan. Minsan, kapag po naka-uniforme isang pulis o isang investigador, nakaka-intimidate na po yun. Sapat na po yun para ma-intimidate ang isang witness. Okay? You should always take that in mind. So, very important po, okay, yung personality na nag-i-interview, yung nakangiti ba, yung relax ba, hindi yung seryoso. Yan po ang ibig sabihin ng forceful. And more importantly, yung forceful na yan, nagsasalita ka, okay, na may pagrespeto, pero may pagka-assertive. Maalala niyo po ba yung acting abilities ng criminal investigator? Ganon din po dito. Forceful personalities, you are able to show a very amiable expression, yung relaxed na expression, nakangiti, but still, when you talk and when you want to get information, is meron siyang pressure. Okay? Meron siyang yung parang parang hindi siya yung nag-i-intimidate, pero parang gusto mong i-extract talaga yung information. Okay? Hindi yung may pagka-superiority. Okay? Kasi aatras ka agad yung witness natin pag nakakitaan ng kahit na anong simpleng superiority, magtatahimik agad yung witness natin dyan. And very important also is conversational tone of voice. Dapat yung boses hindi po masyadong mataas, hindi po masyadong mahina, yung sakto lang. Kaya nga sabi dyan, he must be conversational, not confrontational. Ibig sabihin nun, hindi yung nakongompronta. Sabi mo ganito, tapos ngayon pinapalitan mo na naman yung kwento mo. That's not the proper way for you to correct. Okay? To correct yung mga inconsistencies on the statement of a person or your witness. There are techniques that you can do to check the inconsistency. Like, ulitin mo yung unang statement niya. Sir, sabi niyo po, dumating kayo doon ng alas 7. Pero, nung kwento niyo ulit, tinanong ko, sinabi niyo 7:20. Saan po doon yung totoo, sir? Okay? That's a way for you to get the information without being too offensive to your subject, to your witness. Kaya tinawag yan na conversational. Again, knowledge of human behavior. Okay? Very important po yan sa interviewer. Like, what are some signs of deception? Hindi makatingin ng diretso. Yung iniikot yung buhok or imaginary, may pinupulot na dumi sa mga damit. Those are simple signs of deception. Saan daw nakatingin? Pag left daw, okay? Left titingin na nag-iisip, nag-iimbento daw. Pag right, truthful daw. Tama po ba? Baliktad po. Okay? Pag right, nag-iimbento. Pag left, truthful. Okay? Yan, tama. Pawis na pawis. Yan. Sweating. Okay? Yung throat. Yan. Pag kinonfront mo siya ng tanong, isa pa, tinanong mo siya, nasaan ka sa oras na yan? Tapos ang sagot niya, nasaan ako nung oras na yon? Tapos mabagal. Ibig sabihin nun, he is trying to concoct an answer. Yan. Those are just signs. Kaya sa polygraphy, yan po ang concentration natin. Even in our subject, human behavior in crisis management, we have to be well aware of those simple techniques of human behavior. Like, meron kang niligawan, first date, nag-date kayo. Ikaw lalaki. Paano mo malalaman na yung babae interesado sa'yo? Okay? So, hindi po to part ng review, pero parang tignan natin yung human behavior. Ano yung ba yung common na sinasabi nila? So, yung una daw, pag nagkukwento ka, yung babae nakatingin sa'yo ng mata sa mata at hindi yung nakatingin sa cellphone tapos tumatawag or sumasagot. Kapag daw yung babae hindi nakatingin sa'yo, medyo negative sign yan. Another, sabi ko kanina, kapag nagkukwento ka, yung babae naka-lean in or lean forward, ibig sabihin nun, may interest, pero naka-atras. Tapos yung paa, hindi naka-point sa direction mo. Nakalihis yung paa, medyo negative telltale signs daw po yan. Yeah. Those are simple, yung proven, okay? Na mga telltale signs natin, yung parang mag-give away sa ating expression. Nagsasalita tayo, kabaliktaran ng ating mga gestures. Kaya sa human behavior, gestures are very important. Qualities, na-discuss na po natin ito. Okay? Ibig sabihin nun, you have the ability to, become either a psychologist, an actor, a salesman. Na kapag yung kwento niya is talagang parang galit siya, dapat nagpapakita ka din ng expression na galit ka din sa ginawa ng nakita niya. Man. Parang nanghihinayang, nahihiya, okay? Parang naiiyak. You should also adapt. Okay? You should also adapt to the behavior or to the emotion na pinapakita ng witness mo. Hindi yung umiyak siya tapos tumatawa ka. Naku, delikado. Okay? Baka biglang mapatigil siya, hindi na siya magkwento. Yan ang ibig sabihin ng acting qualities. Yan. Humility, of course, is being humble. Always be humble when conducting the interview. Like, basic is, pag in-interview mo siya sa bahay nila, mga ganyan, in-interview mo sa isang restaurant, kasi depende po yan sa subject nyo. Kung gusto niya magpa-interview sa bahay or sa any other place, then you should always show courtesy and humility. Like, offer drinks, offer food, say sorry, mga ganyan. Say thank you, mga ganyan. So sabi dito, always be humble and always be ready to ask for apology when you did something. Yan. So that is the desirable traits. Now, we have here a golden rule. Pag maalala nyo, meron din tayong tinatawag na golden rule in criminal investigation. Nakalimutan ko atang i-present yun, pero napadaanan natin. So remember, the golden rule in criminal investigation is never, never, never touch, move. Di ba, i-discuss na natin yan sa special crime. Okay? Pag sa interview naman, sabi dyan, never conduct or let anyone conduct an interview if the interviewer has not gone to the crime scene. Very basic po to, pero very important. Wag kang magkakandak ng interview hanggat hindi ka pa pumunta, hindi ka pa bumisita sa crime scene. Ano bang importansya nun? Siyempre, pag pumunta ka sa crime scene, you get an idea, you get a perspective, an overview, even a bird's eye view on what happened in that crime scene, so that you will be able to formulate, you will be able to create the appropriate and the proper questions. Imaginin mo yung mag-i-interview, hindi siya pumunta. Wala siyang idea kung anong setup ng crime scene, kung anong mangyari. Tapos isasalang mo siya, isasabak mo siyang mag-interview. Delikado kasi baka hindi on spot, hindi tama yung mga tinatanong niya na questions. Therefore, okay, the importance of the golden rule is for the investigator, for the interviewer to be able to prepare questions that will fit, okay, or that will answer the issue or the case. Okay, so nandito na po tayo sa format ng interview. So sabi natin, we are going to use the acronym IRONIC. Sa notes nyo, paki-refer sa notes nyo, I is for identity, R is for rapport, O is for opening, N is narrate or narration, I is for inquiry, and C is close or conclusion. So we start. Identity. Very important. So pag ikaw ay mag-meet sa interviewer mo, ang pinakauna daw na gagawin is for you to establish your identity. In what manner? Official. Okay? Pakita mo yung ID mo. Pakita mo yung tsapa mo. Or anything that will really identify you as the interviewer. So, siyempre, magandang umaga po. Ako po si patrolman o police investigator. Okay? Ang dahilan ko pong bakit tayo nag-meet is gusto ko pong makagather ng information concerning sa crime na nangyari sa oras at lugar na ito. That's identity is very important. Hindi yung diretso ka kagad, ma'am, ano pong pangalan nyo? Maaari po ba kayong ma-interview? Yung mga ganyan. Dapat, yung una is ikaw ang magbibigay ng yung pangalan. Okay? Courtesy po ang tawag dyan. Kasi, once you establish your identity, okay, it puts into the mind of your interviewer, okay, official itong pulis na ito. Okay? Hindi yung parang mayayabangan ka agad sa'yo, atras na siya, magbaback out. Remember, interview ito. Okay? Your goal is to gather data. So you have to start properly. Yan. Now, aside from introducing yourself, yan, alam niyo po ba sa fire technology, meron din po tayong term na size up, even in intelligence. So, ano pang ibig sabihin ng size up? You size up the subject. Okay? Kilatisin mo. So, while you are introducing yourself, you should have to size up your subject. Ibig sabihin nun, dapat magkaroon ka ng parang simple na analysis or simple na opinion kung anong klaseng tao ang ini-interview mo. Like, nag-handshake ka. Tapos, parang confident siya. Nako, baka professional po ito. Okay? Tapos, nung nag-introduce ka, yung kamay, nung nag-grip kayo, firm yung grip niya. Baka ito may person in occupying a position or a person in authority, mga ganyan. These are ways or means for you to size up your subject. Bakit kailangan natin i-size up ang ating subject? Kasi, pag na-size up natin yung subject natin, then, we can now choose, we can now select the best interview technique or the best interview approach. Yan ang reason kung bakit tayo nagsa-size up. So, yung first letter I na identity, aside from ipapakilala mo yung sarili mo, is i-size up mo na rin yung subject mo para makilatis mo kung anong klaseng subject meron ka. Okay, so sabi nga natin kanina, letter R is for rapport. Ibig sabihin nun, establishing a good interpersonal relationship. So, sa rapport kasi, commonly is pag taga-kabanatuan ka, tapos yung interview taga-kabanatuan, taga-isiha, kahit saan banda sa lugar sa isiha, ang una mong tatanong, taga-saan po kayo, sir? Okay? Ay, meron po akong kakilala doon. Okay? Pinsan ko po nandun. Yung mga ganyan. Or, pag hindi naman location or link or culture, everyday topics. May paglalaki yan, pag-usapan nyo, pwede NBA, okay, basketball, pwede rin yan, or women, or sports. Pwede rin namang COVID, okay? Common ground ang tawag doon. Pagbabae, anong pwedeng it's about the weather, the dress, the shoes, the bag, anything. What is important is for you to establish a link or a connection between you and your interviewer. And your goal is to establish a good environment, a relaxed environment. Okay? So yun po ang purpose ng establishing rapport, to make your witness feel relaxed so that your witness can give you the information that you want. Okay? Hindi siya takot magbigay ng information. Yan. So sa business, pag makikita nyo ito, it is not just what you say. It is how you say it. Very important po yan. Okay? Hindi lang sa kung anong sinasabi, pero yung paraan kung paano mo siya sabihin. So sometimes, yung rapport is matching and mirroring. Like, yung movement niya, mini-mirror mo din. Okay? Sinasabayan mo. Okay? That is some techniques in establishing rapport. Okay. Ano na po yung susunod? Letter O na po tayo sa ironic. Yung letter O is we call as opening statement. So, in this particular phase or stage of your interview, parang briefing na po ito. Briefing proper. So, yung una pa lang, parang nagkukwentuhan pa lang kayo. Nagpapakilala ka pa lang. Okay, ginagawa mo pang relax yung subject mo. Pero ito na, medyo you are now approaching to the formal narration of the story. So, in the opening statement, dapat very clear yung intention mo. I-explain mo. Sir, ma'am, mag-i-start na po yung interview natin. I-request ko po na yung pagkwento nyo po is diretso. Okay? Kinontak ko po kayo kasi sabi nila mayroon kang knowledge sa nangyari na crime, i-request ko po na you will start your story. I-start mo yung story mo from the moment, okay, na pumasok ka sa kwarto hanggang sa tumawag ka ng tulong sa pulis. Tapos i-explain mo din, ma'am, sir, hindi po kita i-interrupt. Okay, I will let you narrate the story completely. Remember, this is a cognitive type of interview. So, hindi po to Q&A. So, i-guide mo po siya na ganito po ang ikwento nyo. Okay, please, ang ikwento lang po is kung ano yung nakita nyo at hindi po yung narinig, yung sinabi ng kasama nyo. Sabi natin, there's a difference between yung real na na-observe niya at saka yung hearsay. Telltale signs yan, yung sabi niya, sabi ng kapitbahay ko, sabi ng kaibigan ko, sabi ng nakakita. Those are hearsay evidence. That's not what you need. So you have to make it clear during the phase of opening statement na, ma'am, sir, dapat ang sabihin niyo po is kung ano talaga ang nakita niyo, ano yung napansin niyo. Hindi yung kung ano yung nakita or narinig niyo na sinabi ng ibang tao. That is the opening statement. Okay? Before, he will now start, okay, narrating the story. Very important po sa cognitive interview technique is this one. You allow the witness to present without injecting questions, without interruption. Pag hindi mo kasi sa ini-interrupt, kahit na sa moment na sir, dumating po ako doon, tapos umupo po ako, tapos nung pupunta na sana ako sa CR, nakita ko na po yung katawan ng kaibigan ko, mga ganyan. Tapos nagkaroon ng yung pause, momentary pause, parang napatahimik siya ng 5 seconds. Ibig sabihin nun, nag-iisip yan. Never interrupt. Okay? Never talk. Yan. So, pag bawal kang magsalita, anong paraan para ipakita mo yung interesado ka? Balik ulit tayo. Okay? You nod your head. Use your pen. Nagsusulat ka. Okay? Lean in forward. Show that you are interested. What is important is do not interrupt. Do not talk. Yan po ang ibig sabihin ng narration. Kasi nga cognitive interview ito. Yung cognitive interview is memory recall. Parang i-walk in mo siya, okay, sa time kung saan pumunta siya doon sa crime scene, para maging fresh sa kanyang memory, sa kanyang cognition. Yan po yung part kung saan nandun yung narration. So meron pa tayong guidelines ito. Okay, dapat i-guide mo yung interviewer mo na on point lang. Okay? Hindi yung magwa-wonder, hindi yung ibang topics. Tapos, as the interviewer, you have to be alert for hearsay information. Sabi ko nga kanina, ang kwento niya, sabi niya, narinig ko, you have to be alert with them kasi you have to take them down and you have to verify them right after the narration. Okay? Right after the narration. So, sabi dyan, never ever interrupt. But you can guide them. Okay? You can guide them. But what is important is, the main purpose there is, never interrupt them kasi meron naman yung phase kung saan mag-i-inquire ka na. Ano yung inquiry phase? Kung saan, yan na. Okay, sir, sabi niyo po ganito ang paki-clarify po kung anong lugar. Nakita niyo po ba yung plate number? Yung lalaki po, naka-jacket po ba siya? Naka-bull cap po ba siya? These are now questions that are considered follow-up questions. Okay? And sometimes, these are yung investigator, mga skillful ng mga yan. They wanted to confirm, they wanted to verify. Okay? Sir, ano po kayo yung sa tingin niyo ano po yung distansya ng yung lamesa doon sa bedroom? For them to really verify kung to put your witness in the crime scene itself. Okay? To verify kung talagang nandun nga ba siya. Kasi baka naman yung witness mo hindi naman pala reliable yung witness mo. Useless yung interview na nakandak. Yan po ang reason. Yan po ang purpose ng inquiry. Paki-check po yung audio ng iba. May nag-feedback po.
Kapag load mo, ito mga sa number kahin. Load ko. Kaya na.
Okay. So, the last. Yung last.
Mga kasama.
Natin.
Mga kasama, yung microphone niyo paki-mute.
Okay. Okay na po ba? Tuloy natin. Okay. So, yung last sa ironic is conclusion. Okay. or close. Yung letter C na ito na po yung part na magpapasalamat ka kasi natapos yung interview at nakagather ka na ng data. This is a very important part of the interview because keep it open. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, yung conclusion mo open pa rin. Which means that, natapos yung interview, nagpasalamat ka, pero, okay, you're still hoping, okay, that there shall be still a continuation. Like, say, for example, Sir, Ma'am, kung sakaling meron pa po kayong maalala, okay, biglang naalala na hindi niyo po nakwento ngayon, you please contact me. So, basically or naturally, magbibigay po tayo ng calling card sa ating interviewee. So that, okay, yung communication yun ng flow nyo, nandun pa rin. Or, even more importantly, ma'am, sir, baka po kung sakali itong information na binigay very relevant, baka po may invite po namin kayo na mag-testify sa korte pag nagtuloy po yung kaso. So, yan po ang importansya kung bakit yung conclusion natin is hopeful. Okay, prospectively is open pa rin siya, hindi siya close. But normally, of course, magpapasalamat ka. Okay, so there you go. That is the interview format which we call as ironic. Now, I have a video here. It is, I guess, 5 to, wait lang po. 5 to 10 minutes long, and it's going to show us yung ironic as a process of conducting interview. Teka lang, nawala yung pinipresent ko. Teka, nawala yung PowerPoint. Wait lang po, nag-crash yung PowerPoint. Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Ridgeborn. We'll be back in a while.
Welcome. I hope he doesn't keep me waiting too long.
No.
Good day, ma'am. Is this Dr. Cleveland's office?
Yes, it is. May I help you?
Yes, ma'am. We need to speak to Dr. Cleveland. Is he in?
Sorry, you've been called away to the hospital on an emergency. I'm Louis. Office manager. Can I help with something?
Investigating a case of healthcare fraud, and we really do need to speak to the doctor.
Wait a minute. Dr. Cleveland in some kind of trouble? Are you guys legal?
Well, not exactly. We're from the IG's office.
IG, what's that?
Sorry, from the Office of the Inspector General. And no, Dr. Cleveland's not in any kind of trouble as far as we know, but we do need to speak to him anyway.
Healthcare fraud. Did you say healthcare fraud? Hey, no paperwork around here. There's no healthcare fraud here.
Just calm down for a minute. Now, we need to talk to the doctor because he may have information that is crucial to our investigation.
Well, let me tell you, Dr. Cleveland would never have anything to do with fraud. He's a good man. an officer. I've been with him for 14 years, and I can tell you he's no criminal.
No, ma'am. No one is accusing him of anything. However, we do have evidence of a connection between a DME and this office, and we're here to find out more about that.
Well, he's at the hospital. I told you. He's in the middle of surgery, and I don't want him back.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we can wait. But as long as we're here, maybe we could have a look at some of your records. Specifically, we need to review copies of the CMNs that Dr. Cleveland has completed. That should keep us busy until he returns.
I don't have the authority to let you do that. So unless you have a warrant or something, the best bet is to come back tomorrow morning. Our doors are open at 8.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry to have troubled you. Please tell Dr. Cleveland we will be back tomorrow morning.
Not a very productive interview, was it? Our officers didn't get the information they were looking for in their investigation, and in the process may have damaged the physician's reputation and practice.
Tell Dr. Cleveland I'm sorry, but that kind of trouble is just too scary for me.
No, Miss Ridgeborn. I can assure you this is all a
No,
mistake.
Miss Tanner, I'll just have my new doctor call for my records.
That was 30 minutes wasted.
And so they're leaving empty-handed, which is unfortunate, because more likely than not, had they conducted their interview properly, utilizing the 5 general stages of an effective law enforcement interview, it may have turned out to be much more productive. In this program, we will review those 5 general stages and discuss how they can be administered in the context of an effective law enforcement interview. The 5 general stages of an effective law enforcement interview are the introduction, rapport, the questioning phase, the summary, and the close. Let's take a look at each one of these stages individually.
Thank you. It's been a while.
Well, it doesn't keep me waiting too long.
Good day, ma'am. Is this Dr. Cleveland's office?
Yes, it is. Help you?
Yes, ma'am. We're from Health and Human Services Office of the Inspector General. I'm Special Agent Lisa, and this is Special Agent Don Grady.
Oh my. Is there something wrong?
Oh, no, ma'am, nothing to worry about. Is Dr. Cleveland in?
No, I'm sorry. He's been called away to the hospital in an emergency. My name is Louise Tanner. I'm his office manager. Maybe I can help. Are you sure there's nothing wrong?
Yes, ma'am. Everything's fine. We just need to see some information investigation we're working on.
In the introduction stage, you should show proper credentials and identify yourself and your partner if you have one. Also, find out who you're talking to. You should state the reason for the interview, whether it's the actual purpose or a cover story you're using at the time. Stay with the truth when you can.
Oh, well.
Okay. So, interrupt po yung video. Pag nakita nyo yun yung introduction. Diba? Pinakita nila yung kanilang IDs. Okay? And then sabi doon, also, you have to find out the person whom you are talking to. Yan. It's very important in conducting the interview. Sabi natin, you have to size up. Okay? And then you have to be straight. Okay? Direct to the point on the reason why you are there conducting the interview. Okay? Tuloy po natin. Nasa next phase na po tayo kung saan yung mag-i-interview, magkakandak po sila ng rapport. Paano kaya nila i-implement yung establishing rapport?
Well, like I said, he's at the hospital, but maybe I can help.
Oh, well, yes, ma'am. Perhaps you can. Would appreciate that. Is that your son?
Yes, it is. That's my David.
He looks like a natural with that soccer ball. Does he play in the summer league out at the park?
Yes, he does. He's first string forward on the Barons.
I have a daughter who plays for the Cardinals. She's only been playing for a year now, but she loves it. Do you go to the games?
Every one of them. I even try to make the practices. I mean, David really is something special on the field.
Well, you know, I'm surprised we haven't run into each other out there. I'll have to look you up next time.
Establishing rapport is your next task. This can be accomplished in many ways, depending on the interviewee and the circumstances. Being friendly is the best policy. Talk about everyday topics, perhaps something of apparent interest to your subject. Ensure he or she is relaxed before moving on to the questioning stage.
Ms. Canner,
Okay, as long as I would want to share the length of the video, I have to interrupt. What's important is I was able to show yung rapport, di ba? Ganyan po ka-importante. Yung nangyari po doon, ginamit na yung anak, di ba? Para magkaroon sila ng parang ma-relax muna before magkaroon na ng formal interview. Ang susunod sa video na yan is, syempre, opening statement. Iba kasi yung words na ginamit doon, pero almost the same sa technique ng ironic. I-establish nila kung anong gusto nilang makuha, ganyan. And then they will let the person, yung ini-interview nila na mag-narrate ng story, and then magkakaroon ng double thing. Yung kasama niyang lalaki, tapos sa inquiry phase, siya na po yung magtatanong. Tapos sa closing phase, is magpapasalamat sila, magbibigay sila ng calling card. Okay? So we have to move on to another topic. Okay? What's important is we were able to emphasize one type of cognitive interview, which is an ironic phase, wherein meron po siyang sinusunod na process, step-by-step process on how the information was collected from the interviewee at a proper manner. Okay, so let's move on. The next cognitive interviewing technique that is common right now is what we call as the PEACE model. Okay, this is already an enhancement interview technique or cognitive interviewing technique ko rin, parang mas ito na yung fine-favor ngayon na technique. Kung saan, halos parehas din po siya sa ironic, pero parang meron lang portion, okay, doon na in-improve sila. So, look at it. What you see here is the different phases of conducting an interview. So, yung P, planning and preparation phase. The same, okay? Bago ka mag-conduct ng interview, pumunta ka sa crime scene para makapag-prepare ka ng maayos, para makapagplano ka. Remember, interviewing is to extract or to get the information. So, you have to know what information do you need to extract. Okay? Ano ba yung klaseng information kailangan mong makuha? Letter E is engage and explain. Engage dapat kayo ng link. Dapat magkaroon kayo ng connection. Dapat magkaintindi, dapat maging explain yung opening yun. Dapat i-explain mo kung ano yung gusto mong makuhang information. Okay? Ano yung data na gusto mong ma-extract. Yan na po engage and explain. Yung letter A is account and clarification. Nandito po na po yung account, meaning he's now going to narrate the story. Okay? And then letter C is closure or conclusion or close. And then E, may dinagdag po sila, letter E is evaluation. You are now going to evaluate, okay, kung saan ka nagkamali, saan naging tama yung process ng interview mo. So, padadaanan lang po natin ito, okay, para makita natin yung main points ng PEACE model as a one type of conducting interview. We have here the traditional interview, okay, warm up, yan. Yan. So, identify the witness, okay. Kung merong anxiety, you have to reduce. Yan. These are some of the traditional techniques. I'm going to skip this one and I'm going directly to the PEACE model. Okay, punta tayo sa PEACE model. Wait lang po. Okay, wait lang. A short, wait lang. Not responding na naman. Okay. So, tuloy na po natin. So itong piece model na to, as I was saying, is still just an improvement or a continuation of the ironic format that we were able to discuss. Ito ba yung nakapresent yung show? Teka lang. Tama. Ito po. Yan. So, makikita dito sa presentation natin yung word na intelligence quotient. Sabi natin is cognition of the interviewee, yung ini-interview natin. Ganyan po ang cognitive interviewing technique. Okay? So, ito yung piece model. Nakita nyo? Okay. Nandyan. Halos parehas din po siya sa ironic. So, i-identify lang natin yung pinaka-importante na aspect na nangyayari. So, sa planning and preparation phase, okay, nandito. Ano yung target, ang objective kung bakit ka magkakandak ng interview? Okay? Ano yung scope ng knowledge ng ini-interview natin? Okay, yung scope niya ba is the entire crime scene or yung scope lang na is a certain portion, okay, of the existence of the crime? Yan. Are there certain legal issues na kailangan muna nating i-address? Baka naman bata yung witness natin. There are certain considerations na kailangan nating i-comply muna. Okay? Kailangan ba niya ng lawyer? Kailangan ba niya ng chaperone? Baka naman nahihiya or natatakot yung witness natin. Kailangan ba natin ng other parties? Kailangan ba natin ng parents, okay, ng witness natin? Even the welfare, both yung nagkakandak ng interview at yung interviewee natin. Okay? Also, what equipments are we going to need? So basically, itong planning and preparation phase is dito mo ihahanda lahat. Parang bago ka sasabak sa interview, naka-ready na lahat. Okay? The location, okay? Yung location daw ng interviews, sabi nila is kung saan kampante, okay, yung ating ini-interview. So kahit saan yan, basta sa tingin niya is doon siya kampante or doon siya relax, as the interviewer, ikaw po ang mag-a-adjust. Timing is also very important. Sabi natin, huwag tayong dediretso na magkakandak ng interview. Kailangan alam natin. Kasi baka yung in-interview natin, nagtatrabaho sa opisina, 8 to 5. Ibig sabihin nun, yung timing niya is either after work, lunch break, mga ganyan. Yan yung ibig sabihin ng timing. Recording of the interview, do you need to have audio, video devices? Usually, sa cognitive interview pala, in this piece model, hindi na lang po iisa ang ating interviewer. Okay, yung ating investigator, hindi lang mag-isa. Meron po siyang kasama. Usually, 3 po sila o 2. Kasi yung isa, siya yung taga-tanong. Yung isa, siya yung taga-take note. Okay, so that pag nawalan ng, naubusan ng tanong yung nag-i-interview, yung taga-take note, siya yung magbibigay ng guide kung ano yung pwede pang itanong, okay, ng lead interviewer. Usually, they call it lead interviewer. So, anong facts ang meron ka ngayon presently? Anong role ng bawat member? May timer ba kayo? Okay? And dapat meron kang plano. So, itong piece model na to sa planning and preparation, you have to prepare everything by the word prepare and plan. Yan, marami po yan. Okay? That will
Hintayin lang po natin yung mga pwedeng umihi na. Naiihi. Ay, andyan na pala si
Sige po, ma'am.
Na-disconnect na
sir.
naman. Okay. Tuloy ko lang ha.
Yan.
Wait lang po.
Yan yung chance nyong mag-stretching. Baka na-stiff neck na kayo dyan. Stretch ninyo yung mga likod nyo.
Okay, nakapresent na po ba?
Yes, sir. Meron na po.
Okay.
Yes,
Sige.
sir. Meron po.
Okay. Tuloy ulit natin. So, as I was saying, yung peace model, nandun na tayo sa engage and explain. Halos parehas po ito sa sa opening statement kasi kanina. Okay? Kaya ito, nandun na naman yung word na rapport. Okay? Hindi po nawawala yung word na rapport pagdating sa pagkandak ng interview. Kasi nga, yung interview, yung purpose na is, it's not confrontational, but it is conversational. Okay? So, I'm going to skip there. Account, yung account po is yung narrate. Okay, sa account po, marami po tayong dapat nagawin. Kasi habang nagsasalita siya, remember, nandito yung mga keywords na, no interruption, very important. Dapat marunong kang mag-create ng questions out of the answers. Ito, develop questions from the answers. Sabi natin, non-verbal communication, use non-verbal cues kung saan you show that you are interested, yung mga ganyan. Use of silence is also very important. You have to be an active listener. Okay? Not a passive listener, an active listener. So, sa taking of account, okay, yung tinuro nila is, marami po tayong paraan para talagang ma-recognize na, ma-remember niya, maalala niyo yung nakita niya. Like, tell me, sabihin mo sa akin, i-explain mo sa akin, i-describe, pwede pang describe, even show to me or even draw. Okay? So these are some of the techniques kung paano natin ma-extract yung information na nanggagaling sa ating subject. Sabihin mo sa akin kung ano talaga ang mangyari, mga ganyan. Explain mo anong ibig sabihin nito. So these are all information, okay? These are all ways on how you're going to extract the information from your interviewee. So show to me, sketch to me, yan, yung mga yan. And then, okay, meron po akong i-introduce na word sa peace model, okay, na natutunan ko rin, is the word signposting. Diba, sabi natin kanina, dapat marunong kang gumawa ng tanong sa mga binigay niyang sagot. Okay? Ito yung pinaka-importanting skill ng interviewer natin, that while you are listening, yung signposting is you are identifying important topics or important words na sinabi or nabitawan ng witness mo. Kasi for example, ito yung example natin, nasa skate park ako sa aking mga kasama. Si Totoy ba to? Okay, pumunta siya. Okay, tapos nagkaroon ng away sa akin. Tapos, okay, sinuntok niya ako. Okay, na I fell over sa aking mga kasama. Tapos, umalis na kami. Nagkaroon ako ng broken nose. Sa signposting, is you identify key elements. Like yung naka-underline po dyan is skate park. Yan po yung unang sinabi niya. Okay, Totoy ba to? Sinuntok niya ako. O ay ano ba yung fell over, parang napasubsob, mga ganun ba? And then yung mga kasama ko, yan. So yan yung ibig sabihin ng signposting. Now, gagamitin mo na yung tell me, okay? Can you tell me ano ba yung meron sa skate park na yan? Okay? Gaano ba katangkad si Totoy Bato na yan? Okay? Saan ka nag-fell over? Okay? Sino yung mga kasama mo, yung mga mates? Pwede mong ikwento yung mga kasama mo. So all of this, okay? All of this can be used, okay, to generate the proper questions in order for you to really picture on what happened in the crime scene. Yan, sabi doon, pwede bang sabihin kung saan at anong meron sa skate park, mga ganyan. Yan. Tell me everything. Yan. These are all part. These are all part when you're now taking account kung anong nangyari doon sa incident. Okay, so closure, just the same. Pag makikita nyo, ito na yung ending part. Formalities, courtesy, okay, are very important. And so that's it for the peace model. So positive, prospective, evaluate. This is now the phase wherein you're going to finalize. Okay, are you going to need further interviews? Na-achieve mo ba yung gusto mong makuhang information? Ano yung areas na pwede ka pang magkaroon ng may nabigay ba siya ng lead or tip para doon ka mag-continue ng investigation? Yan, dito po sa evaluation phase yan. Evaluation phase. Okay. There you go. That ends the part of interview. So the next one will be interrogation. But before that, para medyo magising din ang diwa natin, mag-a-answer ulit tayo. These are evaluation questions on the topic interview. So let's start. Ito pa yung tanong. Ayun, salamat, may nagsagot kagad. Okay, bakit po kaya bravo yung sagot ng classmate natin? Bakit po kaya inductive? Ano po yung keyword natin dito? Maalala niyo yung Monday? Inductive reasoning or inductive approach, inductive technique. Sabi dito, it is the process of collecting information first. Yan. Mangolekta ka muna ng information, tama, mag-analyze, mag-evaluate, bago ka mag-develop ng teorya kung anong nangyari dyan. Very good. The keyword. So our answer there, okay, is the inductive approach. Okay, maraming salamat sa mga sumagot. At saka salamat at tama yung sagot. Next one. Yan. Look at the question. Sabi niya, it's the lifeblood of investigation. Kalain mo. So dapat sineseryoso po kasi ito yung buhay ng investigation natin. Yan, tama po. No information, no investigation. No information, no intelligence. So therefore, really, the answer is information. Okay. Comprehension na po ito. Natanong, hindi po ito knowledge. Oops. Okay, pakingtindin mo yung tanong niya. Sabi niya, during sa interview, planning is very important. Okay? Tapos, it must follow the order. Follow the order of time. Susundan mo yung pagkakasunod-sunod ng oras. Okay, tumatama na po yung mga sagot natin. Orderly as they happen. So, ang technique na to is, hindi po yan in order. There is no such thing as in order. The word that we use is, tama po tayo, chronological questioning. Okay. Moving on. Ito na. 3 sources of information. Anong source of information ang galing sa government? Okay, galing sa government. News items, otherwise known as open source. Okay, tama po. Open source, otherwise known as a regular source. Sabi nga natin, accessible po ito. Somewhat, it becomes a public document or public source, public information. Yan. So, ito yung pinakita natin nung una. Oh, this is a sort of a topic na hindi pa natin na-discuss. Okay? Pero pwede nyo ring sagutin. Ano po kaya ito? Sabi dito, anong method ang ginagamit ng pag-gather ng information through intercepting telephone calls? Oh, very good. Ito po kasing tanong na ito, very, tama po, wiretapping. Explain ko po kung bakit. Okay, kasi meron po tayong 3 klase. Yan yung A, B, and C. Okay? Ito kasing tanong na to, very specific po ito. Telephone call, sabi niya. That's why, really, the answer is wiretapping. Now, if the question is, ano yung klase? Okay? Anong method ang ginagamit natin na mag-gather ng information kung saan gumagamit tayo ng electronic technology? Okay? Basically, ang sagot po natin dyan is electronic surveillance. Yan. Yung electronic surveillance, papasok na po dun yung bagging devices, mga ganyan. Even video, okay, even wiretapping, papasok po sa electronic surveillance. Now, yung letter A, ano na po ulit yung letter A natin? Gathering information physically, particularly using only your ears without use of any electronic means. So, ang sagot po dyan, tama po. Ears, eavesdropping. Yan. Ito po yung 3 main sources on how we collect information. Either physical, using our ears, that is eavesdropping. Second, using technology. If you use technology, we use electronic surveillance or electronic means like bagging devices. If it is specific telephone calls, that is wiretapping. Okay, there we go. That's for the explanation of this particular question. Ito po. Sells information. Someone who sells information is, naulit po ito. Diniscuss na rin po natin. Okay, tama po. He is our informer. Yes, correct. Yan. At least nakikipag-cooperate. Yun. Okay, dumadami. Yes, tama po. Delta po tayo. Okay, so hindi po natin na-discuss ito. Pero, by just reading the question, you can be able to generate an idea on what the question is all about. So, sabi dito, which of the following refers to an interview? Okay, anong klase ng interview ang nakafocus lamang sa pag-obtain ng data regarding sa kanyang personal background? Okay? Sometimes, we consider it the simplest type of interview. Yun. Yung keyword po natin doon is yung background na word. Tama po ba? So, kahit alam nating background. Kaya po ba nating i-explain yung ibang choices dyan? Diba? 3. Q&A, subjective, cognitive. So, para talagang ma-maximize, sigurado tayong tama yung sagot natin. We can rationalize and try to explain the other choices like Q&A, yung alpha at delta, alam natin na dalawa ang main type ng interview. Yung una, cognitive type, using your cognition, your mind, para sa yung mga adult na witnesses natin. Sa sworn statement, nakaparagraph po yan. And the other one is Q&A type. So, kaya po natin i-explain. Now, about subjective. Ang subjective interview, dalawa po yan magkasama. Subjective interview and objective interview. So, pag sinabi natin objective interview, ito po yung kailangan natin. Okay? Ito yung kailangan natin sa korte. Like, say for example, kung ano lang yung nakita niya, objective nga eh. What he using his 5 senses. Subjective interview, on the other hand, is his or her own opinions. Kaya nga subjective. Okay? Base lang sa kanyang pananaw. Now, in interviewing, kailangan din po ito. Okay? Kailangan din po natin kunin yung kanyang pananaw kasi syempre, siya lamang yung nandun sa crime scene. So, he has an idea, meron siyang pananaw kung ano yung location, ano yung order of things, ano yung nararamdaman ng mga actors na nandun during that crime. So, yung tanong na, ano po kaya sa tingin nyo yung rason kung bakit ginawa yun ng suspect? That is basically a subjective question. But why do police officers still ask those questions? Well, establishing basically the motive. Pero bakit tinatanong nila yun? Yet it is a subjective question. Of course, subjective yun, but it can help in the investigation. It may not be used as evidence in court, but it is useful in the process of conducting the investigation. Ano po? So, yun po ang reason. Kaya lahat po ng type ng interview may gamit po yan. Okay? Depende po yan sa gamit. As for subjective interview, ginagamit po natin yan. Kinukuha po natin yung opinion ng ating witness kasi it might help us to have a better picture kung ano talagang nangyari sa crime scene. That is your subjective versus objective. Next question na po tayo. Ex-convict Trillanes. Oh. Ex-convict. Oh, very good. Yan. Oops. Pakicheck po yung nagsagot ng Charlie. Bakit po Charlie ang sagot? Ano po ba yung keyword natin sa Charlie? Yung keyword natin sa cultivated source is either he is an informer kasi he is trained by the word na cultivate, na train po ang mga ito para sila ay magbigay ng information. So, pag itong ex-convict, he may belong to the criminal underworld. Grapes, hitik sa bunga. Ayan yung keyword niya, grapevine. Kaya tinawag siya na grapevine source. So, ang sagot natin basically is bravo. Okay? Tama po kayo. Grapevine source. Uy, knowledge question po ito. Okay, may mga ganitong klase po ng tanong. Ano po kaya ang sagot natin dyan? Sabi ni Jack Yundal, ang criminal investigation ay, yan, pag mapapansin nyo po, pag pagsamahin mo yung A, B, and C, exactly po, 100%. Okay, so naturally, ang sagot natin, tama po, lahat po yan. Yan. Don't worry, there are some questions that will be like this. We call them all of this type of question. Okay, a type of question that we call as all of this or all of the above. Okay, medyo mahaba-haba po yung statement. It is a technique in which the willing witness, ang bilis ng sagot, is given the full opportunity to narrate his account without interruptions. Yan po yung keyword natin, di ba? And then, after which, pwede nang magtanong yung investigator pag natapos yung kanyang kwento. Okay. So, I believe and I am hopeful that you already understood what is meant by a cognitive interview. Okay, a cognitive interview is you allow him to tell his story. Yan. Wala pong letter E dito. Okay? Wala pong letter E. Baka may makakita, inaantok, baka biglang magising. So, yan po ang cognitive interview. You allow to tell the story without interruptions. Okay, naulit po itong tanong na ito. Yung nandyan is the order of time. Okay, naulit na po ito. Our answer there is chronological questioning. Okay, next question. Maalala niyo po ba ito kahapon? Sixth sense. Oh, very good. The sixth sense. Okay. Itong sixth sense po ito, hindi po ito anting-anting. Okay? Well, hindi po ito anting-anting ha. This particular sixth sense is acquired in a very lengthy process through knowledge, constant training, and years of experience. In the world of criminal investigation, the sixth sense is the intuition. Very good. Okay, tama po. Intuition. Okay, so meron din po tayong ganitong klase ng tanong. Sabi dyan, yan. Ano po yung keyword natin? Without ulterior motive or payment. Nasaan na yung informer? Di ba? Nasaan na yung informer? Kasi, uy, teka lang. Hindi po yan letter A. Nakalagay po dyan, without ulterior motive. Yun, nahanapan yung tama. So sometimes, the choices can give you correct answers. Okay? But sometimes you have to extract best answers. Okay? And informant nga siya, and particularly a voluntary type of informant. Okay, very clear po ang sagot natin dito. Tama po. Our answer is definitely informer. Okay, next question. Next question na po tayo. Ayun. Casual, okay. So, the other keyword for interview is not only simple, okay? It may also be the word casual. Okay? So kapag sa interview is simple, ang interrogation ay skillful. Pag sa interview ay casual, anong counterpart ng casual? Sa interrogation, formal. Okay? Casual is to formal. Simple is to skillful. And that's interview. Another question. So pag napapansin nyo po, yeah, very good, very good. Pag mapapansin nyo, yung mga tanong na ganito is nandun po yung sagot dun sa sa questions mismo. So yung nakalagay dyan, yung sagot ng answer ay nakabase sa kanyang personal opinion. So if it's an opinionated type of interview, then basically that is our subjective interview in contrast to your objective interview. Okay. Okay, here we go. Military versus police. Dalawa po ito. Yung open source at saka closed source. Overt tsaka covert. This is lifted from the book of Montojo. Okay, so kay Montojo po ito. In his book, meron siyang book, Fundamentals, I guess Fundamentals of Investigation. Yan. Yung mga sumagot po ng C, kindly verify your source because in the book of Montojo, ang military intelligence, ito po. Okay. Tama po yung letter C. Okay. So pag sa police, ano naman sa police? Pag military, 99% open source, 1% covert source or closed source. Pag sa police, kabaliktaran po yan. Ano yung sa police? Ito po, letter A. That is for 80 to 85% open source and then 15 to 20% closed source or covert. Okay. So we are done with hindi po yung buong lecture. Okay, we are done with interview. Up next is interrogation. Yan, yung mga gusto pong magkaroon ng short personal break. Ito po yung pagkakataon natin while I'm going to prepare the next presentation.
Sir, I have a question.
Sir, okay.
May question na po ako, sir. Solis po.
Okay. Shoot po, shoot.
Sir, paano sir kung sakali po yung witness natin is hindi na iwasan na mag-abroad, sir? Pero willing siya to give him a statement, sir. Reliable pa rin po ba yung statement niya kahit na sa video call lang, sir, mag-i-interview, sir?
I'm sorry, medyo na-choppy yung sa chat.
Chat na lang, sir. Okay.
Parang may nabasa akong chat kanina eh. Oo. Reliable, about reliability ng witness ba yun?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Bali po. Okay po.
Sige lang, habang yung iba nagkakaroon ng personal break, you can write the question, clarification. Para ma-relax din tayo konti. Or probably sir, i-reserve nyo na lang po yung ayun, sige. I-reserve nyo na lang mamaya, sir. Kasi parang nakita ko kanina yung yung about witness na nag-abroad. Ganun po ba? Okay. Reliability of the testimony of the witness through a video call. Okay, sige. Sagutin kita mamaya, sir. Pag natapos ko yung interrogation phase. Yung source doon sa doon sa 80 to 85%, 15 to 20%. The same din po yung kay ito yung source. Ito. Okay? Search for this author. Meron siyang book, not only fundamentals but also special crime investigation. Even police intelligence. Okay? I guess police intelligence ko nakuha yung source na ito, 80 to 85%. At saka yung military is 99 and 1%. Kaya nagtaka din ako. Bakit parang baliktad ata? But since in the book, verify ko, ganun talaga yung nakalagay na info. Okay? But nevertheless, we're going to entertain the questions, okay, later on, since we are now going to move on to another topic. Okay? So, tuloy na po natin. We are now going to continue discussing another I. The second I is the criminal interrogation or plainly interrogation. So here are some of the definitions. So nandyan, vigorous, confrontational, formal, skillful. Yan. So parang siya, naka-elevate yung level ng interrogation versus doon sa interview. And it's confrontational in the sense that the investigator places guilt on the accused. Okay? So there is some sort of confrontation on your suspect. Okay? Well, if you use the word interviewer and interviewee, we also use the word interrogator. That's you as the police officer, police investigator, and interrogee. Interrogee ang tawag natin. So pag meron tayong interviewee, meron din tayong interrogee. Yan. So ito ang target ng interrogation. In the same way as interview, we also target to gather facts. Okay? In interrogation, sometimes meron din tayong police line-up as one technique. Okay? Is to eliminate the innocent. Very important po ito sa one of the purpose of conducting interrogation. Kasi sometimes, okay, we put blame to those people who are innocent and we can weed them out through a successful interrogation. Okay? Identifying the guilty party, and most importantly, one of the main purposes of an interrogation is to obtain a confession. So by definition, if you look at the definition of confession, that's basically admission of guilt. Yan. Or if not confession, then at least obtain an admission. An admission, by definition, is an admission of a fact or a circumstance. So inaamin niya, okay, ang isang circumstansya sa crime, although not necessarily admitting his guilt. Okay, sir, inaamin ko, kasama po ako dun sa grupo, pero hindi po ako ang bumaril. Okay, that's admission, and that is not confession. So, moving on. Here is the legal definition. So, confession is the direct acknowledgement of guilt. Very important na term po ito. Hindi lang po ito sa investigation. Admission is acknowledgement of a fact or a circumstance without accepting guilt. So, hindi po niya inaamin yung guilt niya, pero inaamin po niya yung isang fact or circumstance like, sasakyan ko po yan, sir. Okay, baril ko po yan, sir, pero hindi po ako ang gumamit. Nandun po ako, pero bantay lang po ako doon sa door. Hindi po ako yung nang-rape. These are all admissions. Okay? But they are still very useful. Okay? They are still very useful information. So there are basically some kinds of confession. Yung una, yung legal, okay, is what they call as a judicial confession. So when it's a judicial confession, this is a confession made in open court. Okay, open court meaning nagkaroon ng hearing, tapos tinanong siya kung talaga bang siya ang gumawa or nandun siya talaga. Then that is judicial confession. This is a very legal and acceptable type of confession. Bakit kaya acceptable? Because, you know, if you remember in the court process, Magsiswear in po yan. Tama po ba? Papatong yung kamay doon sa Bible o sa Constitution. Tapos tatanungin, do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the whole truth? So when he confesses in open court, then basically that's admissible evidence. Now ang tanong natin, okay, pag nabasa po natin, if an accused confesses to a crime that is punishable by death or punishable by, reclusion perpetua or life imprisonment based on the amendments of the law, is it automatic that the judge will hand down a guilty verdict? Maalala niyo po ba yun na tanong? Kapag daw umamin yung akusado, tapos yung crime niya is heinous crime, like murder, rape, automatic po ba na sabi ng judge, oy, umamin na, guilty. Tapos, ibabang na niya yung kanyang mallet. Sa tingin niyo, very good, hindi po. Okay? Bakit hindi? Kasi, nakasaad po sa batas natin, if the accused pleads guilty to a very heinous crime, or that of a crime punishable by death, then there shall be an inquiry, okay, on the truthfulness of the testimony of the accused. So, hindi mo na ibibigay yung hatol. Dapat, i-verify mo na. What's the main mode of verification? Paano pa i-verify? Usually, okay, they are going to require the accused to present evidence against him. So, ituturo niya kung nasan yung biktima, nasan yung ginamit niyang, knife or gun. Ayan. So, yan po yung process. Okay, so let's now go back to our topic, which is judicial confession. A confession that is made in open court. Now, pag meron tayong judicial confession, meron din tayong outside court. And we call that extrajudicial confession. Ang tanong, admissible po ba ang isang extrajudicial confession? Yes or no? What do you think? Yan. So, meron po tayong sagot na it depends. Diba? Paano magiging admissible ang isang extrajudicial confession? May idadagdag po tayo na word. We call it voluntary extrajudicial confession. I'm sorry, I'm going to disconnect muna. Wait lang po. Okay, alright.
Paki-on mga cam nyo. Pakibuksan mga cam for picture taking again. Ayan, gising pa ba? Buksan mga cam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Screenshot. Yung walang picture absent. Ayun, may dalawa doon. Ba't dalawa? Buti nagkasa kayo dyan, charot. Ayan po. Nagsusulat kayo? Asan yung mga sinulat nyo? Yan. Dapat nakaupo. Huwag nakahiga. Mas madali kayong makatulog pag nakahiga. Ayan na. Si Sir, picturean din natin si Sir. Yan. Okay. Bagay pag mag-off kasi ng cam, nakakasave ng data. Sa okay lang mag-off ng cam ulit.
Hi, ma'am.
Hello. Ayan na si Sir.
Check audio po. Okay na po ba? Ma'am,
Okay.
okay na po ba yung audio? Okay, sige.
Yes, sir. Okay po.
Yung presentation, okay. Gising pa ba kayo?
Yes, sir. Gising na gising.
Gising pa?
Sir. Hanggang po, sir.
Sige. Tuloy natin. Siguro hanggang 1:00 siguro matatapos to. Okay lang?
Happy, sir.
Oh, yes sir
Pinang
daw.
sir. Nagkape na po.
Okay. Okay, tuloy natin. So sabi natin, meron tayong tinatawag na extrajudicial confession. Now, tinanong ko, saan doon ang admissible na evidence, saan ang hindi? So sabi ko, dinagdag natin yung word na voluntary. So if the extrajudicial confession was made voluntarily, meaning free will and accord, syempre, meron po itong requirements. Ano yung requirement niya? Kailangan meron siyang lawyer in the presence of a counsel. He made the extrajudicial confession. Now, kailangan nating i-define saan ba yung lugar na extrajudicial. Okay? Pwede kaya yung binabasahan mo siya ng rights. Pare, nahuli kita sa ganitong ako si police officer ganito. Ito ang yung karapatan. Tapos pagkatapos mong sinabi yun, sabi niya, sir, talaga inamin ko, ako yung gumawa doon. Sapat na po ba yun? Uy, meron pong nadadali sa mga ganon. In legal requirements, okay, sige sir. Dahil inamin mo, punta tayo sa police station, meron po kaming attorney doon, okay, doon ka po ulit mag-confess and you have to sign your confession, ano yung pinaka-importante? In writing, black and white po yan. Or, sinakay mo siya doon sa police mobile car, tapos umamin siya, still, okay, you proceed to the police station and, okay, in writing, with the presence of a lawyer, he's going to make his confession. For such confession to be admitted as evidence in court. Yan po ang ibig sabihin ng voluntary, extrajudicial, kasi meron din tayong involuntary. Kaya nga nandyan yung word na null and void, because that kind of confession is obtained through force, intimidation, or duress. Yan. So we do not admit as evidence because, still, we follow the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. Any information, any evidence obtained illegally is inadmissible in court. Okay. Okay. So, nilasing daw yung tapos umamin. Kahit meron tayong in vino veritas, sabi natin, may mga landmark cases po tayong ganyan. Okay? Hindi po pwede. Okay? Dapat full volition. Gamitin natin yung word na free will. Okay? At saka pag nilasing ng pulis yan, bawal po. Okay? That could be a violation done by a police officer to a particular suspect. Okay? Tuloy natin. Okay. So I'm going several statements that are commented by some of the accused, and I would want you to determine whether it is a confession or it is an admission. So I'm going to show you 3 instances or 3 statements. Now, ang tanong, isagot nga yung una. Anong klase kaya yan? Confession po ba yan? Yung pangalawa, confession ba or admission? Yung pangatlo, confession or admission? So umpisa natin. Yung una, sabi niya, I am sorry about what I did. Confession or admission? Pakisagot nga po. Okay. May nagsagot ng admission, may nagsagot ng confession. Yung una yun na, bakit dalawa lang yung sumagot? Okay. Confession daw. Yung iba, ayan, sige, mas marami ang confession. I'm sorry about what I did. Okay. Second na po tayo. Second. May sumagot pa rin ng admission. Sa first 10, okay, second. Sabi niya, if I did touch her bare vagina, it would have been for just a few seconds. Kapag sinabi nyo at pinahamin nyo sa akin na hinawakan ko yung kanyang vagina, saglit lang po na hinawakan ko. Sa tingin nyo, is that an admission or a confession? So before we answer, syempre, reminder. How do we define confession? Complete acknowledgement of guilt. Okay? Medyo bumigat, di ba? Complete acknowledgement of guilt. Paano na yung admission? Acknowledgement of a facts or a circumstance. So yung third instance, sabi niya, the suspect who, after hours of interrogation, acknowledges for the first time that he was present during a drive-by shooting. Okay. So, sagutan na natin. Okay, sagutan natin. Yung tatlo po yan. Yung tatlong statements po yan na nakapresent, lahat po yan admission. Wala po diyang tinatawag na confession. Okay, let me explain. Let me explain. In my defense, ito po yung turo. Okay, ito yung turo sa amin. Some of the weaknesses of that police officers do when they conduct interrogation, ito yung mga pagkakamali nila, is they fail to conduct probing questions or follow-up questions. Mere statements claiming I am sorry about what I did is only an admission and not a confession of guilt. If you verify or you follow up the statement and verify what he is sorry about, then therefore it becomes confession. Kasi sabi niya, "Sir, I'm sorry about what I did." Tapos sabi ng interrogator, "Okay na, umamin na. File na tayo ng kaso." Tapos nung nasa korte, bakit bumaliktad? Bakit hindi na siya naging ano? Kasi yung ibig sabihin ng I'm sorry about what I did, sorry sa ginawa ko. Ang tanong, ano yung ginawa niya? You have to ask, what are you sorry about? Baka sabi niya, sorry kasi nandun ako sa lugar na yun. Balak ko sanang umuwi pero nandun ako. Napasubo lang ako, sir. Hindi ako ang gumawa doon. Okay? Gets niyo po? So, therefore, when you become investigators later on, police officers later on, or even husbands or wives to your as couples, if they say sorry, you have to verify kung saan sila nagsusorry. In the same way as in evidence, sabi natin, very strict po ang legal cases natin. You have to really establish your evidence. Even if that is testimonial evidence, you have to establish yung touching bare vagina, that's mere admission, okay? Accordingly. So yan po ang importansya ng confession versus admission. Okay na po, mag-move on na po tayo. Next topic. Yan, so here is a tabulated comparison between interview and interrogation for us to better understand the difference between the two. So makita niyo dito, sabi niya, when you conduct interview, planning is very important. Maalala niyo po ba yung PEACE model, planning and preparation, or golden rule ng interview, you should have gone to the crime scene. Pero sa interrogation, look at the word that was used. Planning is critical. Okay, mas mabigat po na word yan. Sabi dito, controlling surrounding is important. Pero sa interrogation, controlling surrounding is critical. That is why, when you conduct an interrogation, you should do it in a proper venue. Kaya nga po meron tayong tinatawag na interrogation room. Ano po ang meron sa interrogation room? Siyempre, meron tayong one-way mirror. Okay? Tanong, meron po dapat yung table, saan yung position? Yung suspect, saan siya nakaupo? Nakaharap sa door or nakatalikod sa door? That's ibig sabihin nun, controlling the surroundings. Very important po yan. Kasi sa flow ng interrogation, kayo po ang nagko-control. Yan. Another comparison. Still, of course, when you conduct interrogation, rapport is important. Hindi po lahat ng interrogation is yung interrogator, talagang accusatory. Kailangan din pa rin ng establishing rapport, good relationship, kasi meron tayong sympathetic approach, marami po tayong approaches sa interrogation. Yan po ang next topic natin. Careful listening for both, proper documentation. Okay? So, ito na yung purpose. Dito na sila talaga nagkakaiba. So, sa interview, purpose is to obtain information. Okay? Interrogation is, nandyan, to test information already obtained. Yan. So, ito. Sa interview, minimal or no pre-interview. Legal requirements, no rights warning. Pero sa interrogation, kaya nga, usually, pag nagkaroon ng process ng interrogation, dinadagdagan po natin yung word ng interrogation ng custodial interrogation. Kasi, babasahan mo siya ng kanyang rights, particularly rights against self-incrimination. He has to understand fully his rights and he has waived them, that he is willing to talk and admit and confess his guilt. So dapat you have to establish legal requirements like presence of a lawyer. It must be done in writing. Yan. So okay pa ba kayo? Naiintindihan niyo po ba yung topic natin? Okay, moving on. By the way, meron po tayong tanong. Can you interrogate a witness? Sa tingin niyo, pwede po po ba natin i-interrogate ang isang witness? Sabi natin, typically, in interview, witness at saka victim. In interrogation, suspect. Now, ang tanong, can you interrogate a witness? Very good. Tama yung sagot na it depends. Pero bakit it depends? Bakit it depends? Bakit yes? In what instances can you interrogate a witness? Yan. Okay, ito po yung word. We can interrogate a witness if your witness is considered a hostile witness. Ano pong ibig sabihin ng hostile witness? Your witness, tama, uncooperative or hostile witness. If your witness possesses very important information but is unwilling to offer or share information, you can declare your witness as hostile witness and then you can now proceed to conduct interrogation. So isa po yung exception sa rule natin kasi generally we only interrogate suspects kasi it's confrontational in nature. We do not confront witnesses. We just converse with them. We just gather info. But in extreme circumstances where witnesses possesses very important information and they are unwilling to share it, well, that is the time that you can conduct an interrogation on a witness. O, clarification, that is the only time or instance where you can interrogate a witness. In all other instances, you should only conduct an interview. Okay, moving on. Yan. So sa interview, hindi natin alam kung may guilt siya. Actually, no guilt siya. Pero ang interrogation, more likely, meron siyang guilt sa involvement. Yan. Yan na naman yung words na ginamit. Interview, moderate. Interrogation, extensive. Yan. Interview, private or semi-private daw. Pero yung interrogation, absolute privacy. Huwag kayong mag-alala. Papakita ko po ang setup ng interrogation room natin. Okay, para makita natin how does an interrogation room looks like. Yan. So you have there, sabi natin, actually, we also use the word custodial investigation or custodial interrogation. So we have to use custodial. Ibig sabihin ng custodial is legally and properly, you have taken your suspect into your own lawful custody. Nasa kustodiya mo yung suspect. Tapos pag magtatanong ka sa kanya, then anything that he says, okay, is admissible in court. Kaya nga, nakalagay dito yung Miranda rights warning. I-Mirandize natin siya. Okay? Medyo familiar na po tayo dito. Right to remain silent. Ito. You have the right to choose your own, ano po yung word doon? Competent and independent counsel or lawyer. Ano yung ibig sabihin ng competent? Siyempre yung pipiliin mo, yung bar passer. Hindi lang yung, ano. Tapos independent. Ano yung ibig sabihin independent? Siyempre yung pipiliin mo, yung walang party affiliation doon sa kaaway mo. Yung hinire mo, yung pala pinsan ng, ano, pinsan ng suspect. Pinsan ng victim. Di dali ka rin. Kaya nga independent. Competent or independent. Kapag hindi mo kaya, well, naka-ready po ang PAW natin. Ang problema doon, yung disadvantage kasi fully book po ang PAW natin palagi. Okay? Kaya pag mayroong kaso, hindi mo afford yung competent independent, ibibigay ka sa PAW, naku, medyo mahirapang po ang kaso natin. Okay, that's the truth in our justice system. Yan, the right to be informed of the charges against him. Yan, and remember this law. Okay, you have to be familiar with this law. Although there is no discussion for this particular law, I would like to emphasize that as interrogators or criminal investigators, there is this law. The rights of a person, okay, arrested, detained, or under custodial investigation. Yan. Binigay po niyo yung karapatan ng isang taong inaresto, dinetain, at nasa custodial investigation. Okay? At yung duty ng arresting officer. Okay? Kasi may penalty po yung arresting officer. Pag babasahin nyo, I guess it's 4 years Okay? 4 years or more, mga ganyan. Meron po yan. It's a protection, sort of protection to the rights of those persons who are arrested. If you violate them, then you violated the provisions of this particular Republic Act number. So, RA 7438. Okay. So, more info on interrogation techniques. Ito po ang non-verbal signs, body language signs. Yan. Pero, ang the best po talaga, sabi nila, the best non-verbal cue is avoidance of eye contact. Yan po yung lingering, okay, kahit ano pong book o reference, yan po yung lingering na ginagamit. Pero mag-ingat kasi may mga trained liars tayo. Kaya niyang makipag eye to eye. Hindi siya nagsisweat, but still they can lie. Pero normally in normal human behavior, okay? Ito yung common na makikita natin na body language. Okay, yan yung number 8, avoiding eye contact. Moving on. So, we are now going to talk about techniques or types of interrogation. Napakarami po nito. Pero ang lingering sa board exam natin, are you familiar with sweet and sour? Good cop, bad cop? Yan po si Matt and Jeff. Yan. Sa board exam po natin, meron po yan. Matt and Jeff. The good cop and the bad cop. By the way, saan yung good cop? Si Matt or si Jeff? Good cop. Sino siya? Wala na atang yun. Si Matt daw ang good cop. Tama po ba? Or si Jeff daw? Oh. Sa tingin niyo, dalawa lang sumagot The good cop is Jeff. The bad cop is Matt. Okay, don't worry. Didiscuss natin mamaya. Okay, so I'm going to skip this. These are the traditional techniques. Okay. Ito. We are going to skip here and we are going to go now to the techniques of interrogation. Okay. Maalala niyo yung peace method? Nandyan din po yan. Yan, okay. So, how do you prepare for interrogation? So, investigate. Siyempre naman, dapat meron kang prior info. Tapos, lahat ng known facts, available info na meron, gather them. Yan. So, ano yung nature ng crime? If that is rape, remember, pag rape yan, is it under 8353, Special Penal Code, or is it under Article 260? Diba? Or I mean 264, A or B. Is it rape through sexual assault? Or is it rape through sexual intercourse? Yan. Kasi may categories yan. So you have to be familiar. Date and time, type of offense. Lahat po yan, dapat mag-gather mo as the interrogator. Description, kung paano kaya na-commit yung crime, personal background of the suspect, physical and mental condition, remember this, kasi alam niyo yung lucid interval, di ba? Pwede nilang gamitin defense yan. Attitude of the investigation, cooperative ba yung suspect natin? Relationship to the victim, okay? Baka naman meron silang dating relationship, intimate relationship, or relationship of the suspect to the crime scene. Baka naman safe house niya yan, okay? Baka naman dati nilang communal home. Several considerations. Motive, yan. Establish all of this. Alibi. Remember alibi? It is known as the weakest defense. But once it is uncontroverted, once it is uncontested, it becomes the strongest defense. Because alibi, okay, is the technique where the suspect is placed into another place so that it could be very impossible for him to have committed the crime because he is in another place. Yan po yung alibi. Yan. So these are all considerations. So let's now go to the technique kasi ito yung focus natin. Ito yung kailangan nating malaman. So, meron pong tatlong magkakasama na techniques na positive. Okay? Ang general term po natin is emotional manipulation. Okay? Tatlo po ito. Yung una, ito po yung nakapresent sa ngayon, emotional appeal. Okay, yan po yung una. Second, meron po tayong tinatawag na friendliness approach. Okay, and pangatlo is you have the sympathetic approach. Yan. Ito po yung emotional manipulation. Bakit po kaya tinawag ito na emotional manipulation? Because you are going to appeal to the emotion of the offender. Okay? Ang babanatan mo, ang i-attack mo is the emotion of the offender. Ibig pong sabihin nun, kaya nga nandyan is emotional, friendliness, mga ganyan, is pakikisamahan mo siya. Okay? You're going to connect with your suspect. So, parang nag-interview ka. Okay? Parang nag-interview ka, tumango-tango ka, nagbigay ka ng tubig, maayos pakikiusap mo, pero interrogation yung format mo. Ang purpose mo is to obtain confession and admission. So, ano ba yung may example nito? Yan. So, applicable daw ang emotional appeal sa first-time offender. Yung parang nangungonsensya. Sir, naiintindihan po kita kasi nalaman ko yung sitwasyon mo, may sakit po yung pamilya mo at alam ko na kailangan mo ng pera. Pero, alalahanin nyo, meron po tayong batas na kailangan nating sundin. Dahil binalit mo yung batas natin, kailangan nyo pong umamin para kayo ay magdusa. Pero, wag po kayong mag-alala. Pag umamin po kayo, mababawasan po yung degree, okay, ng kaso na pwede naming i-file laban sa'yo. Kaya sir, umamin na po kayo. Those are some techniques, okay? This is emotional appeal. So you have to rationalize with them. You have to deal with them. You level with them in the sense that you present the facts. Okay? Sometimes, ginagamit yung emotional manipulation kasi manipulate. Sasabihin mo, sir, paano yan? Pag po nakasuhan kayo, medyo seryoso po yung kaso nyo, mapapadala po kayo sa Muntinlupa. Paano yan? Bagong kasal pa kayo ng misis nyo. Kung sakali, baka delikado yung misis nyo. Pero, pag-aamin po kayo, sir, medyo bababa po yung dito lang po kayo makukulong sa bilangguan natin, pwede pa po kayong mabisita ng misis nyo. Yeah, you got the idea? That's manipulation. Actually, it's not supposed to be an admitted technique, but police officers use that in order to appeal or to attack to the emotion of the suspect. I hope naiintindihan niyo po yung explanation natin. Okay? So, makikita nyo dito sa manipulation, nandun pa rin yung rapport establishment. Kasi this type of interrogation technique is somewhat, they call it effective. Because we level down to the feelings and emotions of our suspects, of our interviewees. Ayan, kaya nandun yung sympathetic, offer kindness. Ayan, sir, you sympathize. Okay, naiintindihan ko po kayo. Paki-explain ko kung bakit nyo nagawa ito. Yan, mga ganyan na reasons. And friendliness. So sabi natin, we call it emotional manipulation. Okay. So paano pag hindi ito effective sa kanya? Kasi talagang wala eh. Yung suspect natin parang is already trained. Sanay na siya. Okay? Hindi siya nakukuha sa santong dasalan. So ano na yung susunod? Meron na tayong tinatawag na tricks and bluff technique. Medyo marami po ito. Ma'am Christina, we are approaching 10 p.m. Are we allowed to extend, ma'am? Ma'am?
Yes, sir. Hanggang 11 po ang max nila.
Okay, sige. Sige, hindi natin i-consume yung entire 11 siguro. Pero I wish to complete this part on interrogation para hindi masayang yung presentation natin. Okay lang po ba?
Okay, sir.
Sige.
Yes po, sir.
Banat!
Yes, sir.
Banat, sir!
Sige. Gising pa naman kayo, kaya tuloy natin.
Okay lang po, sir.
Okay, sige. So sabi natin, tapos na yung emotional manipulation. Hindi siya mubra doon sa ating suspect. So ang susunod dito, we call it tricks and bluff. By the word tricks, di ba? Marami ba kayong alam na trick? Tapos namba-bluff ka. So here are the following. So i-summarize natin. Yung una, pretense of solid evidence. Pag sinabing yan, pag sinabi nating pretense of solid evidence, tama po, tama. Sasabihin mo, noong nang hold up kayo, okay, magpe-pretend ka na may nakuha kang evidence. Hindi nyo napansin Merong CCTV doon sa grocery store. Kitang-kita po yung mga mukha nyo, kaya umamin na kayo. Or umamin ka na. Or, hindi mo ba alam, nalaglag yung wallet mo doon sa crime scene? Nakita yung wallet mo, nakalagay doon yung ID mo. Yan. Kaya umamin ka na. Yan. These are all tricks and bluffs. Okay? 50-50 po ito. Okay? Suntok sa buwan kung sakali. Pero, sometimes they are effective. Okay? Kaya nga tinawag nila tricks and bluffs. The weakest link. Paano ulit natin i-explain yung the weakest link? Tatlo yung suspect. Okay? Hanapin mo sa kanila yung pinaka-weak link. Yung madaling bumigay ba? Okay? Yung takot talaga. So, kaya nga one of the standard principle upon arresting yung suspect or even witnesses is to separate them from each other. Paghiwalayin mo kagad sila. Bakit? Pag kasi pinagsama-sama mo yan, ma-influence yung statement nila. Or magkakaroon sila ng uy, dapat ganitong sabihin natin, iisa lang para hindi tayo matiklo, ganyan. So, upon arrest or even upon interview or of eyewitnesses, automatic po na sineseparate sila para hindi po ma-taint, okay? Hindi po matintahan yung testimony nila. Yan. So, yung weakest link, hanapin mo yung pinakamahina, tapos sabihin mo, paano? Ikaw yung tinuturong gumawa nun eh. Yung dalawang kasama mo, umamin na sila. Ikaw doon yung gumawa doon. So, sabihin mo na yung totoo. Ikaw ba talaga o yung mga kasama mo? Yan, that's the weakest link. Okay? Drama. Ang dami pong techniques ng drama. One technique of drama is jolting. Alam niyo po ba yung jolting? Yung parang gugulatin mo siya. Okay? And you're going to ask questions. Magtatanong ka, pero hindi mo siya bibigyan ng tsansa na sumagot. Parang, ikaw ba ang gumawa? Tapos sasagot sana, aminin mo na kasi nakita namin. Mag-i-explain ulit sana siya, pero you are going to give questions. So, you are going to attack a barrage of questions. Yan. These are some of the examples, okay, of drama. Training contact with the family, sabihin mo, nakontak na namin yung pamilya mo. Okay? Hiyang-hiya na sila sa ginawa mo. Kaya umamin ka na, mga ganyan. Okay, line up, meron po tayong ganyan, and police line up. So, tignan natin. That's just the summary. The keyword for pretense of solid evidence is, okay, you claim that there is enough evidence. There's additional evidence that you have found out. But in fact, wala pa. Yan. Kasi nga, pretense. Kasi tricks and bluff yan. Weakest link, sabi natin. Okay? Pipiliin natin yung pinakamahina na miyembro ng grupo nila. Drama. Ito. Shout. Jolting. Yung mo yung table. Bag. Magugulat talaga. Okay? And other attacks. Ito. Banging the chair. Yung kwelyuhan. Tapos lagay mo sa wall. Although, explain ko later on, okay, if they are admissible as evidence in court. Training contact with family members. Okay? Sabihin mo, pumunta na kami sa bahay nyo, kinausap ko na yung pamilya mo, mga ganyan. These are some techniques. Line up. So, usually, meron tayong tinatawag na police line up. Merong nakaset up, stage ang tawag doon, na police line up kung saan kakausapin mo yung witness para ituro siya. Okay? Para ituro siya. Stage line-up ang tawag ito. Now, usually, typically, sa line-up, meron pong mga questions later on, okay? Trying to talk about police line-up. So, mag-move on tayo. Reverse line-up, baliktad po ito na type ng line-up. Okay? Kung saan yung suspect, okay, masasama siya sa ibang mga victims or witnesses. The reverse line-up. Even you have stern approach. Jolting, yung binanggit ko kanina. Shout to the subject. Opportunity to lie, bigyan mo siya ng panahon na magsinungaling hanggang sa mahuli siya sa sarili niyang dila. Yan. Yan po yung opportunity to lie. You allow him to lie and you catch him in his own lies. Yan. Matt and Jeff. Yan. Ang tanong, sino po ang mauunang papasok? Si Matt or si Jeff? Standard. Pag Matt and Jeff. Remember, Matt and Jeff is good cop, bad cop, sweet and sour technique. So this is a technique applied wherein there are two interrogators. One is a good cop, the other is a bad cop. Now, ano yung technique? Sinong paunahin? Si bad cop, si good cop? Tama po. Si bad cop. Okay? So yung bad cop, parang buwisit na buwisit siya. Galit na galit. Okay? Pwedeng tititigan niyo yung suspect. 30 seconds. Okay? Pag yung suspect is first time na offender yan, automatic po yan, yuyuko po yan, mahihiya yan sa pulis. Pero pag yung suspect mo talagang tigasin yan, naku, makikipagtinginan yan, ngingisi pa yan. Okay? So anong step? Yung itong si Matt, mag-initiate na siya ng non-verbal po yan, no? Mag-initiate siya ng verbal. So sasabihin na, putang ina mo. Okay. Ikaw yung palagi naming kinakayaw na klase ng magnanakaw, yung robber. Yan. That's verbal already, di ba? So, wala pa rin. Sumasagot siya. Ganun ba, sir? Salamat, sir. Putang ina mo rin. Mga ganun na nasagot niya. Ang susunod na doon, physical na po. Okay? Physical technique. Tapos, pagkatapos nun, biglang papasok itong si Jeff. Sasabihin niya, pare, tama na yan. Labas ka muna, mag-yosi ka, pa-relax ka. Hindi ka lang pinagyan ni mismo kagabi, galit na galit ka na. Tapos lalabas si Matt. Si Jeff na, sasabihin niya sa suspect, boss, pasensyahan mo na yung kasama ko. Ganun talaga yun, mainit ang ulo. Gusto mo ng yosi, sir? Gusto mo ng kape? Yan na. That is now the good cop. Now, in legal practice, Matt and Jeff is inadmissible as evidence in court. Hindi po yan tinatanggap na ebidensya sa korte. Because accordingly, it is going to attack the rationality or the mental behavior of your suspect. Okay? It's just a technique for them to gather information. But it may not be used as evidence in the court of law. Yan. So there you go. That's the story of Matt and Jeff. Yan, removing ethnic barrier. Pag yung suspect galing ng Isiha, kuha ka ng pulis na galing Isiha. Kasi nga magkakaintindihan ng mga yan. Pag yung suspect galing Baguio, kuha ka ng pulis galing Baguio. Okay? Searching for the soft spot. Sabi nga nila, lahat ng tao may kahinaan yan. So hanapin mo. Pwedeng yung pamilya, pwedeng yung anak, pwedeng yung aso, parang yung palabas, John Wick. Diba? Pwedeng yung sasakyan. Yan. So you have to search for the soft spot and then you can use it as your i-elevate mo yung sarili as your advantage. Yan. So ito po sa army po ito nag-exist. Marami po ito. Meron pong minsan sa board exam yung kasi kasagsagan noon nung yung interrogation sa mga terrorists. Yan. Meron po yung very effective na technique kung saan pinapahiga yung suspect or nilulublob sa tubig or pinapahiga, kinukuburan siya ng yung parang cloth, tapos lalagyan ng tubig. Accordingly, that technique, pag nagganon pala siya is parang sinasimulate na yung sensation of drowning. Na para pag tinuchoksa na nilagyan ng tubig, both yung ilong at saka yung para siyang nadadrown. Tapos nasya-shock siya. Okay, that is one of the common technique na ginagamit laban sa mga yung suspected na terrorists. Meron ba dito yon? Wala ata dito yon. Nandito po, ipapakita natin. Ito yung common na technique. Mga videos po ito, i-skip natin. Wala dito. Lang. Yun. Yung number 10. Yan po yung tawag nila doon, yung yung tubig sa kanya. Okay, waterboard technique. Teka, baka meron yung pictures mamaya. Pakita natin. Okay, so this is our interrogation room. Okay, yung interrogation room natin. So meron po tayong guidelines. Teka lang. Wait lang. Okay, so ito yung guidelines ng interrogation room. Dapat may privacy. Okay, yung sabi nga natin, privacy is important. Okay, privacy is critical, I should say, not important. Yan. Restricted entrance. Dapat isa lang yung door. Isang entry, isang exit. Okay. Soundproof. So these are some of the guidelines. Okay, tignan lang natin. Investigator, suspect. Pag makikita nyo yung chair, wala po siyang hindi po siya armchair. Yung table, malinis po. Okay. Pwedeng patungan mo lang yan ng recorder or a short file, mga ganyan. Simple, dapat walang distraction, minimal distraction, bare walls, no glaring lights, and so on. Okay. These are some of the setup. Technical, siyempre, audio or video, listening device, one-way mirror. Yan. Yan yung mga present sa interrogation room natin. Seating arrangement, okay. Yung chair, yan. Armless. Very important. Table, flat surface, Very minimal lang So the suspect, ito po yung yung statement ko kanina. Yung suspect sa interrogation room dapat nakatalikod siya sa door. Dapat hindi na nakikita yung door. Yung reason doon is para hindi siya maistorbo kung sino yung pumapasok at lumalabas sa interrogation room. That's why the suspect must be placed at the back. Yun. Ano yung suspect? Suspect is placed not facing the door. Okay, not facing the door. So yung sinabi ko kanina na common na ginagamit nila noon sa mga terrorist, ito. The waterboarding technique. Ito. Yan. Nandito pala. Ito yung mga techniques. Cramp position, mga ganyan. Walling, facial hold, space, closed confinement, yung mga ganyan. Yan. So this waterboarding. Yung common na ina-apply nila noon. Okay, na binanatan ng mga human rights advocates. Kasi bawal ito. The technique. Okay. So there you go. We are done with interrogation. This is now the third I, which is instrumentation. Okay, short discussion lang po sa instrumentation. Instrumentation in some books is also known as criminalistics. The application of tools or instruments in conducting or aid of criminal investigation. So yan, police laboratory, forensic sciences. Sometimes yun ang term natin na ginagamit natin. So marami na po tayo, okay, na na-establish. Meron na po tayong bago ngayon sa ating crime lab, yung DNA. Okay, DNA service at saka yung cybercrime service. Yan po ang kagandahan ng SOCO ngayon. Kasi pag pupunta ka sa SOCO, hindi na po necessary yung specialization mo kasi pag training mo, ikaw na po ang pipili kung saan ka pupunta. Sa QD ka ba? Fingerprints ka ba? Okay? Or sa DNA or sa cybercrime. Yung bago natin ngayon. Okay. So, last topic na po tayo. Arrest, search, and seizure. So, this will be covered in any other subject. Kasi nga, related lahat ito. So, let's just discuss them in passing. Arrestare, restare, etymology, very important po itong knowledge po ito. Saan po nanggaling yung word na arrest? Yan, these are the definition. Actual taking of a person in custody, warrant of arrest. Okay, these are the definition. May elements po yan, dapat alam natin. Okay, alias warrant. Oh. How do we explain an alias warrant? Remember, yung warrant of arrest, ilang araw yung validity ng warrant of arrest? The validity is 10 days. Tama po ba? Pero dapat specific tayo. Okay. Warrant of arrest shall be valid 10 days from, is it receipt or issuance? Kasi magkaiba po yan. Meron pa tayong word na receipt. Meron po tayong issuance. Yung receipt is yung day na natanggap mo yung warrant. Yung issuance is yung day na napirmahan yung warrant. Okay, shortcut po natin. Ang warrant of arrest is 10 days from receipt. Ibig sabihin nun, 10 araw, magbibilang ka ng 10 araw, okay, from the moment na nakuha mo yung warrant of arrest. Pero ang search warrant, 10 days from date of issuance. Okay? Di bali, may explanation po tayo sa Q&A mamaya. Okay. Makukover din natin ito sa ano. So, ang gusto kong i-target is yung evaluation questions na tayo. Okay. So, this is now the last part. We can cover this. Okay. Kaya natin to para ma-wrap up natin, ma-summarize natin yung subject natin na fundamentals. Okay. So, let's now participate. Naulit po ito nung last meeting. Yung Bravo at Charlie, iisa po yan. Tama. Ang sagot po natin dito is Delta. Okay? Delta po yan. Keyword, simple questioning. So, ano pong sagot natin sa simple questioning? Okay, syempre, naturally, that is interview. That's the definition. That's the distinction. Oh, I'm sorry. O, sige, next. Nabanggit ko yung PAW kanina, pero hindi po yan ang proper term. Hindi po yan ang proper answer natin. Kung ano pa rin yung nakalagay sa batas, yun pa rin ang sagot natin. So, ano yung sagot natin? The government will provide one free of charge. Although, literally, that's PAW. Okay? Pero yung nasa ano po natin, letter C po ang best answer. Remember, there might be correct answers, but you have to look for the best answer. Ayan. Tama po. Charlie talaga yan. Okay. Interrogation. Ano daw yung best sa isang emotional? Remember yung discussion natin kanina? Emotional manipulation, tatlo. Okay. Tama. Emotional, sympathetic, and friendliness. Magkakasama po yung tatlong yun. Tama po. Nasama ito. Very good. Yeah, it's good to know that you're familiar with this term. We call it the rabbit. About the person conducting surveillance. Ano pong tawag natin sa taong nagkakandak ng surveillance? We call him, of course, the surveillant. Yan. A polygraph is a lie detector machine. Ay, buti may sumagot ng bravo. O bakit letter A? Lie detector ba ang polygraph? Okay. Mali po yun. Okay? Kasi, ang polygraph instrument does not detect lies. Hindi po nasasabihin kung telling the truth or lying. Ito po yung proper. The polygraph machine records your physiological responses. At bahala na po yung yung nag-conduct ng lie detect, yung polygraph test kung may change. Okay, tama yung sagot ng kasama nyo. There is change in the normal physiological response.
Sir, pwede po magtanong. Excuse po.
Go ahead po.
Bakit po ang lie detection hindi po siya admissible sa court as an evidence?
Very good question. In other countries, like in America, if you indirect yung pagsagot ko, para may explanation. In other countries like in America, lie detection is standard if you are applying for a job. So like big company, lie detector ka agad yan. Okay? But, okay, there is no yet decided case accepting, okay, the result of a polygraph test as evidence in court. Unlike DNA evidence, fingerprint, firearms evidence, tinatanggap na po yan sa korte. DNA 2007 tanggap na po. Pero lie detector or findings, okay, or results of a polygraph test up until now, wala pa pong decision yung Supreme Court na tinatanggap. Okay? That's the legal perspective. Kung bakit hindi tinatanggap kasi wala pang decision, wala pang precedence na katanggap-tanggap yung result ng lie detection. Now the reason, okay, sa police perspective is ginagamit lang po ang lie detection as an aid to investigation. Okay? Hindi po natin sinasabing pangit ang lie detection kasi depende po kasi sa expertise ng ano po kasing tawag natin sa nagkakandak? The polygraph examiner. Okay? So pag in-establish natin sa court na yung polygraph examiner is an expert witness, there is a probability na pwedeng matanggap yung result or findings niya. Pero sa Pilipinas, kukunti pa lamang po ang practitioner natin pagdating dito sa polygraph examiners. Although we have polygraph examiners, but their purpose is only to aid the investigation or to assist our police investigators in finding the truth. Okay? And these types of evidence, the results of polygraph examination are only corroborative evidence. If it is well corroborated by much important like primary evidence, yung mga ganyan, yung first type of evidence, they can be accepted, but only in corroboration. They cannot stand alone as your main evidence to convict a particular accused. I hope nasagot yung tanong. Ayan, yun po yung yun po yung idea ko, yun po yung reason kung bakit hindi pa tinatanggap dito sa ating bansa. Even in other countries, aid lang po ang gamit ng polygraph. Okay? But we are hoping of course that if ma-perfect nila, okay? Magkaroon ng standards like fingerprints sa ating countries. Ilan ang number ng similarities at dissimilarities para sabihin nating match or hindi match ang fingerprint evidence? O ilan ang standard? 10 or 12? Yan. At least meron tayong sinisip na gano'n. Pero sa polygraph examiner, wala pa pong gano'n. Kasi konti pa lang po ang practitioners natin. Yan po yung reason kung bakit hanggang ngayon, hindi pa tinatanggap. Yeah. I'm not sure about US. Maybe there are states that admit it. But the entire federal state of US, I doubt kung tanggap sa buong US yung polygraph result. Okay? So, thank you for the question. Let's continue. Ito pang Friday na po ito na discussion. So sabi doon, forensic procedure performed by trained personnel of PNP Crime Laboratory. Ito po yung palagi kong kinokorek. Okay? Bad influence ng media. Ang ibig pong sabihin ng SOCO, yan po, letter A, scene of the crime operation. Hindi po yan scene of the crime operatives. Kay gas-abilgas po yun. Okay? Sinira yung ni gas-abilgas yung ibig sabihin ng SOCO. Kayo mga criminologists, ang akala nila sa SOCO, scene of the crime operatives. Mali po. Ang SOCO po ay procedure, hindi po ito tao. Pagtatanungin mo, sino ang nagkakandak ng SOCO? Ang sagot po, SOCO team. Kinabibilangan ng team leader, assistant team leader, at saka specialists. Okay? Kaya sabi dito, it is a procedure, particularly a forensic procedure. Okay? So that's SOCO. Ako na po yung sumagot. Ito. So, meron tayong tinatawag na specimen. Okay, meron tayong tinatawag na specimen. So, anong tawag natin doon na ginagamit for comparison? So, tingin nyo. Okay. Don't worry, we are going to cover this on Friday when it comes to introduction to special crime. Ang sagot po dito is Charlie. Okay. Known, standard. Okay. Known or standard. Isa lang po yan. Okay. Isa lang po yan na term. Even, idadagdag ko pa yung isang term, exemplar. Okay. Known, standard, or exemplar. May kanya-kanyang gamit po yan. Okay. Other question? Okay, yan po ang legal definition ng, tama po, chain of custody of evidence. Pag makikita nyo po ito, nakakontain dito ang bilang ng mga tao na nag-handle ng ebidensya. Okay, sa moment na nakolekta, okay, hanggang natapos yung kaso. That's chain of custody. Very important po ito sa isang investigator. I guess I'm going to end here. Don't worry, I'm going to incorporate these questions on the next meeting. Kasi ito mga question na to, these are already for special crime investigation questions. And dying declaration and so on. So, Ma'am Christina, I guess hanggang dito muna.
Okay po, sir. Wait lang po.
Yes, ma'am.
Pa-on ulit ng mga cam, please. Oops, may natutulog pa. Gising! Char. May natutulog, gumising.
Good night, sir.
Good morning.
Hey, good night.
Iba kasi parang dehero.
So,
Okay na po.
See you, sir.
Uy, par.
Oh, by the way, sagutin ko yung yung tanong ng isang kasama natin.
Okay po.
yes, sir.
Okay po.
Yung witness, willing siyang mag-testify,
Apo.
pero pumunta ng abroad. Tapos
Apo.
yung testimony niya is virtual evidence.
Apo.
Legally speaking, if ganito kasi yan, if the testimony of the witness is very important, key witness talaga, star witness is very important.
Apo.
Hahanap po ng paraan ang ating korte, ang ating pulis. Okay, lalo na pag naka-file na yung kaso sa court, hahanap po ng paraan yan para ma-obtain yung testimony niya. Even to the point na mag-issue sila ng i-hold nila para hindi makapunta sa abroad. Now, in case nakapunta sa abroad yan, kailangan nilang mag-establish ng mechanism, ng paraan para ma-verify nila na yung testimony or statement niya is admissible. Okay? I have yet to encounter yung ganyang sitwasyon. Okay? Na wala pa akong nabasa na ganyan na yung testimony ng galing sa abroad is virtual kasi. Mas okay sana kung yung investigator sumunod siya sa abroad, kinuhan ng testimony, pumirma kasama yung lawyer, tapos binalik sa Pilipinas.
Yes,
Yung
sir.
tanong po kasi ng kasama niya is very unique. Parang yung new normal natin ngayon, okay?
Napaisip lang ako sa
Nag-testify siya virtually. Napaka-challenging po niyan actually sa mga lawyers natin. Sa part ng investigator natin, probably is kung ma-establish nila yung tawag doon, yung parang hindi mahahack yung conversation, para hindi nakita na baka na-edit. Yan kasi yung consideration ng testimony na virtual Baka na-edit yan, baka yun yung mga consideration. So, hindi kita masasagot ng diretso kung matatanggap ba yan o hindi. But in my personal opinion, kapag talagang nasa part na tayo na wala na talaga, yun na yung last, talagang virtual na lang. O virtual na lang. Sa tingin ko, pwede. Provided, sabi ko kanina, i-protect nila, ipakita nila na hindi na-alter. Parang yung sa picture, yung picture na kinuha ng digital camera, dati-rati hindi po yan tinatanggap. Ang tinatanggap noon, dapat may black and white film po yan. Diba?
Yes, sir.
Yun yung una. Pero ngayon na, yung digital evidence kasi, na kinuha na yung may SD card.
Yes, sir.
Kaya kasi nilang patunayan kung inedit yan or hindi.
Okay po.
Meron na pong mechanism dyan. Kung na-crop yan, napatungan yan, may layer na parang sa Adobe, yung PDF, kung napatungan yan or may edit, pwede nilang i-declare kung genuine or hindi. Hindi ko lang alam sa video. Okay?
Okay po.
Kung sa video kaya nilang establish na talagang hindi siya edited or hindi siya baka pwedeng tanggapin sa korte. Okay? Pero pag sa law enforcer, siyempre, useful po yan na information ng enforcer. Gagamitin na yan sa kanyang investigation. So, tatanggapin niya yan. Ang tanong sa korte po. Okay? I do not have the extent of the knowledge para sagutin po yan.
Okay, sir.
Okay na, diba?
Medyo naguluhan lang din ako, sir, kasi yun nga, sir, nga ba, di ba, kung may circumstances na gano'n na hindi napigilan na napunta ng abroad, although siya yung witness. Di ba po?
May point ka din dun, sir, kasi baka pwedeng mangyari yan. Hindi malayang mangyari kasi ganito yung sitwasyon natin. Okay, don't worry, sir, baka sakaling para sa discussion lang natin at hindi lalabas sa board exam kasi mahirap sagutin.
Buti na lang, sir, I mean, sir, tawag doon, at least, sir, nalinawan lang din, sir, kasi ewan ko ba, sir, ba't tumatakbo sa utak ko? Ba't naisip?
Yan, normal yan. Part yan naman. Kasi nagre-review kayo
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sige, Ma'am Christina.
So, wala na pong ibang tanong. Ayan. So, normally kasi, chat-chat yung gaya ng instruction natin noong una, type nyo yung question nyo para mababrowse ni sir, sasagutin na lang niya pag natapos na yung lecture. Anyway, that ends our topic on the introduction of investigation. Okay, so If there are no more question, pwede na nating palayain si Sir Joey.
Oo nga.
Maiiwan po muna kayo for a while at magkakaroon lang tayo ng konting pag-uusap. At this is the first na subject na matapos natin. Magkakaroon lang tayo ng konting assessment siguro sa mga difficulties na kinakarap natin. So with that, Sir Joey, maraming salamat po. At
Thank you.
again, hindi pa po goodbye. Tagal
Yes,
pa po
ma'am.
tayo
Meron
magsasama.
pa. Yes, ma'am.
God bless po.
Okay, sige ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Salamat,
Salamat
sir.
po.
Thank you, sir.
Ayan. Sir Jess, okay na po.
Napahanga ako ni Solis
Na ano lang sir, na medyo dun sa discussion sir, nadala lang ng curiosity.
Okay, good evening. So, this evening, someone started to join us in the person of Ma'am Miss Eliza Dato. Are you still awake, Ma'am Eliza? Diyan ka ba ba? And sino pa yung iba yung mabago? Hindi ko na matandaan. May kausap po ba ako? Meron.
Yes,
Yes
sir.
po, sir.
Yes, sir.
Meron po, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Meron po.
Yung tanong mo, Solis.
Yes, sir.
Pero pag sinagot ko, okay ba? Tapos na, ganun.
Okay, sir. Wala po problema, sir.
Normally, hindi naman normally and legally and usually, ang testimony ng isang witness, whether she is abroad or he is in the local setting, I mean in the Philippines, ay by means of a deposition, or that is what we call an affidavit. So, ipagpalagay na natin na nandun siya sa ibang bansa, tama ano? Kasi umalis siya sa Pilipinas na hindi siya nakapag-iwan ng kanyang salaysay, yung kanyang affidavit or deposition. So normally, he could execute a deposition doon sa bansa kung saan siya kasalukuyang naninirahan at tumitira. No? So, upon execution of deposition, pwedeng ipadala yon. Alam mo, pwede rin ang ipadala, i-scan, i-scan, tapos i-send. Provided the authenticity of the soft document. Soft document yun kasi email yan could be established that the document sent was authentic. Authentic, big sabihin, yun talaga yung nilalaman. Kasi alam mo naman, marami nang nakakrap ngayon. Yun ngang tigyawat mo, pwede nang tanggalin Di ba? Hindi ko nga alam kung dinayang mo pa yung video mo ngayon, ba't maputi ka?
Grabe naman, sir. Maano lang sir yung ilaw. Yung ilaw, sir.
May tanong dito, applicable po ba ang facsimile or fax machine? Yes, paring Carlo, tama. Pero, we will again certify or we will again determine the authenticity of the sent document. Nakanyo? Ngayon, halimbawa, ayaw niyang mag-execute ng deposition, pero pwede siyang magtestigo online. So, tulad ng Zoom, pwede rin po yun. As long as he will undertake oath. Yung oath, yung ikaw ba ay nanunumpa na sabihin ng lahat at pawang katotohanan, gano'n. Pwede rin po yun. Okay? Accepted yun. Mayroon second na tanong, sino yung nagtanong nun doon sa admissibility of